I'm going to play the music. I'm going to introduce you, and then we're going to see what happens. Are you ready?
You got it, brother.
Any questions?
Let's read it. Can I speak? Let's
the man
let
needs.
it rock.
Maybe you do need a shot of whiskey. I'm about to jump on Instacart and be like,
Give me a shot of whiskey.
Get some stuff over here. We need some. You want a Zen?
What?
A Zen.
A Zen?
You're a baseball player. You probably love nicotine.
Oh, no.
Okay.
I am not a nicotine guy.
All right, everyone. Happy Saturday, and welcome to another episode on David's Saturday Night Sit Back, where tonight I have Eric Ferguson, a high-performing coach helping ambitious entrepreneurs grow their business without sacrificing health, well-being, or relationships. Eric is a former Division I professional baseball player, a current podcast host, and graduate from the Hofstra University with his bachelor's degree in psychology. Eric formerly played for the Alpine Cowboys, the Gateway Grizzlies, the Trinidad Triggers, and the Salina Stockade until one day he abruptly ended a 20-year dedication to the sport. More on that to come in a couple of minutes. Aaron then took a career break and traveled to 6 countries in Europe before being a teacher in Botswana. He traveled to Nepal for about 44 days, and he also studied yoga in India while on a quest to answer the question, who am I? When Eric got back to the U.S., he spent a small amount of time as a physical therapist, a hitting coach, a sales rep, before pulling the trigger around August of 2022 when he founded Full Potential Living as a high-performance coach in Denver, Colorado. Today, I'm excited to sit back with Eric to talk about the transition from sports to world travel, from studying medicine to becoming a coach and entrepreneur. And today, I believe that Eric and I are dedicating this following conversation to help you transform your life. Specifically, I hope that if you feel your internal fire is a bit dim this morning, we can help ignite it. And if you're already feeling pretty passionate about something, we can add fuel to your flame. And ultimately, we hope that this conversation gets you one step closer to being able to love your life and to love yourself. Eric, thank you for being here, and welcome to your episode on David's Saturday Night Sit Back.
Hey, David. Wow. I love that. I love that intro, man. There's a lot of great information there and even stuff that I've forgotten about my own life. So that is deeply researched, my man.
I know more about you than you do.
You do, apparently. Wow. Dude, that was excellent. Thank you so much for that great intro.
You're welcome,
Appreciate
dude.
it.
Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah.
Just to give you guys some context real quick, me and Eric met at an event that I've referenced before called the Internet Marketing Party. And one of my favorite part of that night, and I'd be curious what yours is too, so think on this for a second.
Yeah.
My favorite part of the night is you show up, you do some networking, and then they have a speaker that talks for like 30, 45 minutes. And sometimes they do this thing where they split the room up into 5 groups, and you're put in a circle with anywhere from 10 to 15 random people, and everyone gets 60 to 90 seconds to give their name and their business or sort of why they're there. And then they either offer, they either ask for help, they offer something that they want to give, or they give a humble brag about something that they've accomplished. And so as we were going around our circle at the last party, Eric and one other person who will come in May, so stay tuned for Helena. Eric, I really liked his pitch, and there's something about his eye contact, his energy, the words he spoke, and I was like, this guy's coming on the pod. I gotta get him. And here we are.
Let's go, man. Let's go. I think what I loved about what you were talking about and how you kind of presented yourself was very authentic and very genuine, and coming with this booming energy, like clearly you do have a podcast, you know? And, I love that. And my favorite part about the Internet Marketing Party, you know what? Like, in this phase right now, I have so much amount of personal and professional growth. It's crazy. So like meeting very high level people that are super successful, just being around this, these types of people in person has been amazing, and including at the Internet Marketing Party. And so just meeting awesome people that are doing awesome things, just the connections is my favorite part. I'm a big connector. So absolutely.
Excellent. I want to do something I've never done on this podcast before in 105 episodes. I want to talk to the cynic for a minute. So there's someone who hit play on this episode, and as soon as they heard the intro, they heard internal fire, full potential living. This is all hogwash. My purpose in life is to graduate college, get a good job, pay my bills, be a responsible human being. I'm already unsold on these two guys, and I'm going to click off any minute. Give your pitch to why you think this person should give us a shot and stick around for at least a couple more minutes, if not maybe even the entire episode.
Yeah, I love it. First of all, like, you have to understand that every single one of us has the potential to live what I call our greatest life experience. We all have the ability to create a life and absolutely love our life. We have the ability to express ourselves for all of who we are. We have the ability to choose a career, a passion that we love, something to, high quality relationships, because what most people do, and I've seen this so much in people that came before me and even in my own family, so much of society does exactly just that. They think that they're just supposed to follow what everybody else does. They're supposed to go to high school, go to college, not really learn much in college. And then after college, you get a job immediately. You get the white picket fence eventually when you buy your house. And it's so like this timeline of like how you're supposed to live. But if you truly want to live an epic life, if you want to live your best life, like a life that you love, you have to bring more consciousness around it. You have to make it yours, because you have two choices in life. You can either react, what most people do, you can react to life and just float through life, or you can create an extraordinary life. And it's just a decision. It's a decision. You're going to be existing anyway. You know what I'm saying? So why wouldn't you choose a life that is extraordinary for you? You get to decide, what does that look like for me? Or am I just going to float through life and live a halfway life that's not really mine? Yeah. Like take it back and create something extraordinary.
I remember, but just again to a little bit of my backstory that I forget if I've shared on this podcast or not, because I don't talk about myself that often, but I was that guy. Graduated high school at 18. I didn't go to college because that's what everyone else was doing. And I'm sometimes of the personality type that if everyone is doing something that for no other reason other than that, I will not do it. I am the salmon. I swim upriver. I swim upstream.
I love it. Yeah.
So I became a personal trainer, got a certificate, went to a personal training conference where the keynote speaker was a lady who trained professional musicians, Division I athletes, and just got to spend all day with these types of people. And I thought, I want her life. So at the end of the conference, I elbowed my way to the front, got in front of her, and I was like, this is who I am. This is what I've done so far. How do I get to be you? And she asked me a couple questions about my degrees and certificates. And she said, first step is go to college and get your degree in kinesiology. And I was like, fuck. So I went to school. And I wasn't passionate about it enough to finish. So I pivoted, as most people do, from kinesiology to accounting. Duh. Got my degree in accounting, got a job with one of the top professional services firms in the world, got to go to work in a suit every day, was making decent money, did it for 3 years, and couldn't have been more miserable. Because and just 3 years after college, I was like, is this what life is about?
Yep.
You wake up on Monday, you go to work, you go to the gym, you go home, you make dinner, you go to bed. You do that Monday through Friday. Friday night, you get really drunk. Saturday, you sleep in. You spend most of the day working out the hangover. Go grab some Burger King for dinner. Get high that night. Wake up Sunday morning. Maybe go to the gym. Do something semi-productive, and then start the process over again on Monday morning. And so for me, I quickly realized through trial and error that was not full potential living at all. Yeah. Like on the surface, it looked right. There's probably some people who looked at my life and they were like, Dave's got it made.
Right.
And internally, I was bored. I was anxious.
Yep.
I was not satisfied at all. So I hope we reach some of those people today who sort of on the outside, maybe they look like they got it made.
Exactly.
And on the inside, they're just like, what the hell am I doing with my life?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, wow. Thanks for sharing that. And the fact that you've kind of pivoted and going in that direction now is amazing. I love the salmon upstream.
I'm a fish, baby.
I'm an eagle.
Here's a question for you. Well, I have a ton of questions for you, so I hope you're ready. Are you happy?
Absolutely, man.
If happiness was a recipe that was made up of a list of ingredients, what are you currently missing from your ingredient list that would lead to perfect happiness?
You know, I love fulfillment. I feel like happiness is fleeting. It's something that is like an emotion that we can have and it can go away. I like more fulfillment because fulfillment comes with more like longevity. So if I were to think of like fulfillment, what do I need for more fulfillment? I mean, it's a great question. I think for me, it's really actualizing my potential in all the areas and continuing to grow. I mean, so for me, it's in my business. It's in my relationships. It's kind of in these broader areas. Because, well, the reality is that happiness or fulfillment is really a choice of how you want to live. So there are things that we accomplish in life that give us a sense of, wow, I'm really fulfilled. I'm doing things that I desire. But it's a choice on how we want to experience life. Right? So like I love my life. And that's really the purpose of, yes, I want more achievements. Yes, I want to accomplish my vision. But along the way, the process is to love your life. And so I really love my life, and I want to help people love their life, like love it. So I can kind of give you answers that would be, you know, like part of my vision. But really, like I'm on the way all the time, and I love where I'm at.
Who are you?
Oh man, how deep do you want to go?
It's actually past surface level.
It's a yeah. Okay.
More than your name.
My name's Eric Ferguson, former baseball player, former professional baseball. Yeah. Dude, it's a great question. When I was in Nepal, and I had this whole journey where I stopped playing baseball. I played 2 years of pro baseball after college baseball, after Division I. And I just had this moment where I was like, I don't even know who I am beyond sports. I thought this is what I wanted when I got there. Kind of like, oh, I thought I wanted to be an accountant because that would give me the... I don't know why you thought that, but... but, yeah, no, it was like, for me, it was... I thought I really wanted that, but once I got there, I was like, that's not really me. So I had to do some deep self-discovery of who am I, what do I want in life? And so I had a friend when I was in Nepal, incredible friend. She's from London, Pascal. She's a wonderful friend. And she asked me that question like 8-9 years ago. And she's like, who are you, Eric? She's like, who are you? She's like, are you, you know, your head, your mind, your brain? I was like, She's like, are you your heart? Is it your body? She's like, who are you? And I had to really think about it. And I'm like, who am I? Who really am I? And so kind of through the whole process, because we were at a meditation course in Nepal at the top of Kathmandu, Kopan Monastery, where the Dalai Lama has been. It was incredible. But through that 6-day meditation course, I was really figuring out, who am I? And I think it's a question of identity, but at sort of the deepest level that I understand, we are the observer. We are the one that's observing the story that's unfolding. We are the one observing the movie that's happening that we call life. We're the one behind the thoughts. We're the one that's behind the body and how we feel. Like we don't have a body, we're in a body. We live in a body, right? It's not mine, but I live in it. So it's like we are the observer behind the thoughts. We are the observer behind the whole life experience. And, there's a couple books that I had read that really, really drove that point. It's kind of like, see if I can remember, but you're kind of like the actor on the screen, but you're not only the actor of your life, you're also the director. You're also the writer. You're also like the audience watching the movie. You're all of that. And so at the deepest level, we are the observer of our life experience. And when we can get to the observer and be the observer more often, we don't attach to suffering. So this goes back to Buddhist principles. But we don't attach to suffering because we realize that thought, like I said a couple weeks ago in another podcast, we can choose which thoughts we want to get in the car with. It's like a bunch of traffic is going by is our thoughts. We have thousands of thoughts in our mind every day. But when you do meditation, when you start to just bring more self-awareness around your own mind and your own thoughts, you realize that you can either get in the car with the negative thoughts and ride in the car and feel like you are that car, or you can get in the car and push yourself away and decide which car you want to get into and get the one that brings more positive thoughts, more positive abundance into your life. So the observer is the one that's pushed back, not thinking that I am crappy, like I am somebody who fails, I am somebody who's not happy, and realizing that is your own ego and your own mind. That's not you. You can change that by becoming the observer more, by pushing away from your thoughts, by pushing away from your feelings and going, okay, what am I experiencing? And how can I be more of that observer that understands what's happening so that I can choose the best life? Putting yourself back into the driver's seat of your own life experience instead of reacting to the different negative feelings and thoughts you might have on a day-to-day basis.
So those thoughts are going to come, whether you,
Yep.
Let's say, let me try to think of a gentle example. You dropped the ball on something. Let's say you had a commitment to call someone 1 p.m. on a Tuesday and you just completely forgot or something. You might feel sort of shitty about it. That's a bad example. I'm not going to give an example. Let me backpedal a little bit. I might even edit that out. Negative thoughts are going to come, whether they're a small one, like waking up and I don't feel great today, maybe I didn't get enough sleep or whatever it is, or whether it's a bigger one, like, oh, I really dropped the ball on something, and now you're like mentally flogging yourself. What room or space do you give to those negative thoughts?
What room or space? Personally, basically the biggest thing that helps me, and I actually help a lot of my clients with this too, is Sri Kumar Rao is somebody, if you look up Dr. Sri Kumar Rao, he talks about this one simple mental tool that can really, really help you in life. And so when you have those thoughts, it's not that we want to like shove them away. We don't want to go, oh, I can't have that thought. Like it's going to be there anyway, like you said. Mm-hmm. What we want to do is so basically there's a tool, just a thought that is really understanding how is life always happening for me, always, and using that on a day-to-day basis. So most people react to life and they automatically assume that life is happening to them. So problems, things that happen, they come up and they're like, life is happening too. I'm really frustrated. I'm really mad. If you can be in that space and be like, okay, it's okay to be frustrated, mad that I dropped the ball, but how is this happening for me? How is this happening for me in this moment? That little shift, I'm telling you, completely changes everything. Because now you look at everything that happens in your life and you go, oh, okay, I don't like that. Or wow, I love that. I'm either winning, or I look at that and I'm go, man, I really don't like that. It's not like, yeah, I don't like that I failed. I don't like that this happened. I don't like that I have lack of fulfillment right now. But how is this happening for me? Because we have to have growth. We have to have what I call contrast to be able to live our best life. We have to have challenges to be able to live our best life. So it's really about understanding that. When you look at everything you don't like as, how is this happening for me? You start looking for the growth. You start looking for, wow, yeah, I missed that. Oh, what is this habit that keeps happening every time I'm missing the ball on these calls? What's the reason why I'm not being more productive when I know I can? What's the reason why I'm not showing up as a more influential person at work, in my business, or just around people? What's the reason why? Okay, yeah, I failed. Man, that sucked. I looked like an idiot in front of those people. I didn't present my best self. Oh, perfect. Why is this happening for me? Ooh, how can I now use that to become, because like life, God, universe, whatever you believe in, when you ask for something, the universe doesn't give you what you want. It gives you the challenge that you need to become what you want. It always gives you something in the way to be like, yeah, you want that? Well, you're going to have to grow to become that person. Because if you were that person already, like, you wouldn't have to grow. You wouldn't have to go through that. So we have to understand that when we ask for a big goal, when we're going after big dreams, you're not going to get what you want right away. It doesn't happen like this. You're going to get the gift of transformation, growth, which is hard to go through to get what you want. So you have to recognize that and go, oh, this is the hard thing I need to get through. Ooh, a challenge. Not a problem, but a challenge for me to grow.
Yeah. There's this guy that goes to my gym who's probably, I asked him once, he's in his 40s, let's say mid-40s, and he's probably 6'4", 240 pounds.
Yeah.
Under 10% body fat.
Yeah.
His name is Goliath. My nickname for him is Goliath. The guy is a monster of a human being. And he was on the podcast, and some of the young men that go to my gym know that he was on the podcast. And a couple of them on different occasions have come up to me and been like, dude, how do I get to be Judd size? And I'm like, well, first of all, you're 16. He's 44.
Yeah.
So he has 20 plus years of, he got his degree, I think, in either kinesiology, sports medicine. So he studied it. He's been working out for 20 plus years. His body's more mature than yours is. And the fact of the matter is he's been developing who he has become over the last 20 plus years.
Yeah,
and
right.
I do think that part of the challenge to what you're pitching is people want to go from that 16-year-old 160-pound person to the 44-year-old 240-pound 7% body fat, and they want to see that transformation overnight without all the little stuff in between. And that is I think that's a big part of the challenge to the idea you're pitching right now, is we don't like that middle stuff in between. Yep,
exactly. I think it's really with all the things of how things happen so fast these days, we think that we're supposed to get what we want like this. But it's honestly like, that's where the beauty is of life. If you just got what you wanted right away, what would be the point? But imagine when you accomplish like something in your life you've already accomplished. But imagine when you've accomplished that thing that you had to put in hard work, how much more valuable is that? It's so much more valuable when it's hard to get what you want, right? That's what, value is about. And so that's part of life. So it's just about accepting that. And especially for the young people out there, I know you have a lot of young listeners, is like, yeah, it's not going to happen tomorrow. That dude put in 20 years of work to get to where he was. And beyond that, he's 6'4". I mean, are you 6'4"? Do you have that frame? Like, do you have those genetics?
Right.
Like, so my first question to that person would be, why do you want that? Okay, maybe you want to be in great shape. Maybe you want to be your, whatever your shape is, but why do you want that? What's the reason behind it? Why do you want that kind of 6'4" body? Is that really you? Are you really a 6'4" guy and you just need to like get more mass or like, you know what I mean? Like, why do you really want that? Would be my first question.
The next time someone talks to me about their fitness goals, I've never asked one of them that. Why?
Yeah.
Before I answer your question,
Exactly.
The more popular question the last month has been a couple of teams who are starting to take their first round of their first cycle of steroids. And I've never stopped to just ask one of them, why do you want to do this?
Yeah.
I'm not saying you shouldn't. I'm not saying you should. I just want to know, like,
Exactly.
what you do this thing for the next 8 weeks, however long. Why?
Exactly.
What in your imagination is going to be different outside of size? We know the obvious answer. You want to get bigger. You want to have 10 pounds of muscle, 20 pounds of muscle, whatever it is. Set that aside for a second. On the other side of that, what's your end goal as a result of that?
Exactly.
I like this.
Yeah. Yeah, because I think it's crazy that we're not taught these very simple practices in school. Like, for me, once I created a vision for my life, once I figured out why I wanted it, like, really, what's the purpose of me creating an extraordinary vision? Why do I actually want that? Like, for all these categories of my life, you get very crystal clear on this is exactly what I want. So you create the vision. You figure out what's the purpose. Why do I even want this life? Is this coming from me? Or is this coming from what my parents told me was good? Is this coming from what my friends or my coworkers or other people I work with or my team telling me this is what I want? Right? You have to understand why you're, because most people set goals that lead to nowhere. They set goals that lead to nowhere. And then they get to a point where they have a midlife crisis or they're 45. They're like, why did I choose this?
Yeah.
Oh, I was going after somebody else's dream instead of figuring out, who am I? We have to know ourselves. We're all these unique, incredible beings. We're not all the same. But there's a reason we're not, right? So we have to figure out who we are by figuring out what is my ideal life 5 years from now.
Yeah.
Get very specific. What am I doing on a day? What's my ideal day? Like, maximize that. What does it look like from 6 a.m., whenever you get up, to whenever you go to sleep? What does it look like? What if I could live that great life? That's step one. Like, you've got to figure out your vision and be very specific with it. And then you have to figure out, okay, all right, why? Like, why do I want a 6'4" body and, super jacked, like, is that really me? Or is that what my friends think I should be? Right? So you have to figure out why. And then you have to figure out the strategy. You can't just put up a vision and goals and be like, oh, I hope I get there. No, the rubber meets the road with the high performance habits. How are you actually going to get there? What's your strategy to get there? And then you can actually make any dream happen. You can make your best life happen by knowing, having the process to get there.
I've heard that phrase, the rubber hits the road, a lot. What does it mean? You ever thought about that before? Am I just a little retarded this morning? The rubber hits the road. The rubber hits the road. The tires? It's referring to tires, right?
Yeah. It's kind of like where the tires like get you going, It's kind of where it's a good question. Like, sometimes we just gloss over like phrases and we never think about them. Like, it's a great question, but it's like where does where's the traction? What actually makes the car go?
Yeah.
The friction between the road and the tires by pulling, right? By rotating. So yeah.
There's one that my workout buddy, it really made him think the other day. We were at the end of our workout and he asked me, he was like, do you want to go get tacos after this? And I said, I don't know. Does a duck drag weeds when it has a boner? And it really stumped him for a second. And he was like, does a duck drag weeds when he's like, do ducks have penises? Anyways.
Just a mental mind.
We will come back to full potential living and all that good stuff in a couple minutes. I want to go back in time real quick.
Okay.
Not real quick. Over the next however long this takes.
Yeah. Whatever.
You down to close your eyes and do a very quick meditation of sorts with me?
Absolutely.
All right, cool. So audience, if you would like to participate, assuming you're not driving, if you're driving, don't do this. But close your eyes, and we're going to start by taking just 3 deep breaths, and then I'm going to say some thoughts and ask Eric a question. So here we go. Eyes closed. 3 deep breaths. So I want all you guys to take a moment and go back as far as you can to your earliest memories of being a child. I want you to think about the neighborhood that you grew up in, the house you grew up in. I want you to try to remember your parents or whoever your guardians were. Think for a few moments about your brothers, your sisters, your pets, how you spent your birthday, how you spent holidays. What was going on in the political landscape that you may not remember older individuals in your life talking about? What was family breakfast, lunches, and dinners like or not like? Who was around when you were a kid? Who were your friends? Where'd you go to school? What were you excited about? What were you nervous about? What were you ashamed about? What made you happy? When was one of the first times that you can remember as far back as possible that you were laughing so hard you couldn't catch your breath? What was one of the earliest memories that you were the most proud of? What was one of the first times that you felt defeated? What was one of the first times that you felt like you were doing exactly what you were supposed to be doing in life? And just think as far back as you can, and we're going to take 10 seconds just to sort of remember our childhood and some of those significant moments between when you were born and when you were 12 years old. Okay. Eric, what came to mind for you? If you took us back as far as you can, it could be any memory at all. It could be happy, it could be dumb, it could be funny, it could be sad. If you go back to like 4, 5, 6, 7-year-old Eric, what's coming to mind?
I had one come up, and I was maybe 12, 13. You want me to go to 4, 5, 6?
I want you to go to wherever you go to the memory you were just alluding to, the 12 or 13 years old.
It was really hilarious because you said, what was that time where you're laughing the hardest that you couldn't stop? I remember my buddies, we had stayed up, the first time I had stayed up all night, and I was with like 5, 6 of my buddies, and we were out like running around the neighborhood, like doorbell ditching, like throwing the ball around, doing whatever, playing tag. I don't even remember. But that night, I had a buddy that, we were sitting there. We were so delirious. We were so tired. Like just like it was like 1 a.m., 2 a.m. I had not ever, spent that much time up. And it said something like, what was it? How's it hanging? Was it him or me? One of us said, how's it hanging? And then the other one said, oh, no, I said, how's it hanging? I'm like so tired, just like slap happy, just how's it hanging? And he's like, 4 feet, 9 inches. I was like, your whole body? Like, just laughing for hours. And I'm like, it's like something that we always would go back to. There's another thing that was coming up. Like, this is my friend Ryan Palmer. Love you, man. If you're out there listening, hopefully you're still out there. But we were like in elementary school, and it was like, I just moved to Colorado from Florida, and we were just goofing around, and I went to like put my hand out like this, and I went like this, and I was like pointing at him, it was like right in front of his face, and he just went, ah. I was like, oh, fuck. I was like, ow. I was like, why'd you do that? And we were just like laughing for hours. So those are the memories that like come back.
Was Ryan a Florida friend or a Colorado friend?
He was the first Colorado friend I had.
How old were you when you moved to Colorado?
I was 9 years old.
What do you remember about Florida?
I remember I had some hard times. My mother had split up from my dad, and we actually lived in a little townhome. But luckily we had this kind of beach volleyball court that was like for the whole place, and my brother and I would throw the football every single day. We never missed a day on sports. We never missed a day. It was either baseball or football. It was very rare. There was like a couple days. I remember like counting like 3 or 4 days throughout a whole year where we didn't throw the football, didn't throw the baseball, do something of that nature. And those were some hard times, like right when they split. And my mom was going through a lot, and then she ended up getting into real estate and then did really well. And then we were able to move to Colorado. But I just remember the backyard we had of just like, it didn't really matter. Like we had what we needed. We just needed to watch sports, and, you know, we needed to have a football and have a baseball, and we would throw it every single day. And that was the first thing we did, just every day.
What's your brother's name?
Ryan Ferguson.
Right. Is he older or younger?
He's older.
What's the age difference between you guys?
He's 2 years and 11 months, almost 3 years.
And it sounds like you guys got along pretty well.
Yeah. I mean, we were very close growing up, and we went through some trials and tribulations in like 2022, 2023, but we're back to being close. Yeah.
Did you have any other siblings?
No.
Did your parents raise you guys religious at all?
Not at all.
How old were your parents when they split? Do you remember?
They would have been, I don't know their exact age. They would have been, so my mom had me at 42. I was an in vitro baby, actually. One of the first couple thousand in vitro babies in DC. So I count my blessings every day that I'm here and I'm alive.
What's an in vitro baby?
In vitro baby is essentially when it was like in the early 90s when it came out to the public more and more. It's basically when mothers are having trouble having kids for whatever reason. You can actually, they would take the egg and the sperm and actually do it in a lab. So they would actually inject it into the lab, and then they take that fertilized egg, put it back into the mother, and then you're somehow born from that. So it was the first time that they were really bringing it out to the public. I don't know the exact year, but we're the first couple thousand, maybe first 10,000, where it was really out in the public. So it made through science, which came into the world through science, but I'm highly spiritual.
No, you're not. Not at all.
Not at all, right? You couldn't tell.
Off topic, sort of real quick. Just yesterday, I found out, I forget the word for it, but there are 12 documented cases in all of U.S. history of women who got pregnant with 2 babies at the same time from different males.
Wait, two babies at the same time from different males.
Yeah.
So twins.
Sort of. They had the child, she's now a grown adult, but the adult who was talking about it was mentioning that there were a lot that was similar about them. You know, you're in the same womb, you're growing up in the same household, assuming that you don't split up because of divorce or whatever. Yeah. So her and her sister did have a lot in common, but when she could remember back when she was like 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and if they ever went to a new environment and they were introducing themselves to whoever, the person that they were meeting would be like, "Oh, you guys are sisters? Is one of you adopted?" And so it was very obvious that these two, like, they looked similar, but they were different enough that their first reaction would always be like, you're not like blood sisters, are you?
Yeah.
But I thought that was insane.
Yeah.
And it makes sense why it's only been 12 documented cases, because that'd be sort of wild to get pregnant with two different men's babies at the exact same time. Anyways,
wow, that's wild.
Did you know about this?
No.
Me neither. I had no idea this was a thing.
That's crazy, man. Wow.
Anywho, so you were an in vitro baby. Why did your parents splitting up hit you hard, do you think?
I love these questions, man. Why did it hit me hard? I think for me, my dad always living in Connecticut, and me with my mom and my brother for most of our lives being in Colorado. Yeah, just not having the father figure like immediately around. I have a great relationship with my father, and he's done so much for me in my life. And yeah, so that's not a problem. But it was extremely hard as a kid when you don't have direction from the masculine figure of like, hey, I want to accomplish this. Like, I wish somebody was there. It all happens for a reason, but in hindsight, I wish somebody was there to be like, oh, you want to be a professional athlete? I knew when I was 9. Like, I knew that's what I wanted. Oh, this is how you do it. Let me help you get there. Let me help you. Like, I just figured it out myself. Like, if I had somebody like a hitting coach, or just somebody I had good coaches, but somebody to help. Like, oh, that's your dream? Let me help you get there. That would have been incredible. I just had to figure it out. I had to learn about the law, the secret, the law of attraction and the secret. And that really helped me start to train my mind about manifestation and then taking a bunch of action and making it happen. So I really wish that I had that father figure there. You know, there was times where my brother and I would go fly and have a blast with our dad. We'd see him every 4 months, man. Like, we'd have a blast with my dad, and we'd go play sports. Like, we would, get smoothies. Like, my family's always been super healthy on my dad's side, thank God. And he would give us like wheatgrass shots as kids, just training us to be incredibly healthy. We drank the kombucha before the kombucha craze, like 20 years ago, like more than 20 years ago. Like, people were like, what is kombucha? And we drank the real stuff. But my family, so we would do all these fun things with my dad. Tennis, my dad was a pro tennis player, and now he teaches it. You know, he's been teaching it for 30 years, and we would do all these incredible things. He had a whole nother career before that, but anyway, so we had such a blast with our dad. But then when we would get on the plane, we'd be bawling, we'd be crying. We'd be like, oh my gosh, like my dad would too, like he was holding back tears. He's like, but as kids we're just bawling. Like we loved being around our dad, and we felt like we had that just a masculine presence. But it was we didn't have it, when we went back for another 4 or 5 months. That was the hardest part.
Why couldn't you guys see him more often?
Just because of how far away he is. And yeah, pretty much he was on the other side of the country. So
it's hard to speculate on things that aren't reality, but let's say he had been in your life more.
Yeah.
Do you have any idea how things may have turned out differently for you, or do you think ultimately you would have still landed about to where you're at today?
Well, I think it happened for a good reason, honestly. Everything always happens for you, right?
Yep.
And that's the way I look at life, and really helps me. And because I look now, like I actually spent a year in Connecticut before I came to Austin. And that was the first time I had spent more than a few months with my father, like in the same place. That was like very profound for me. It was like a window between my previous life and the whole next chapter. And so I had never spent more than a few months with my dad in person. And so that was really profound. I guess I forget the question.
That's okay. Why'd you move from Florida to Colorado?
Florida to Colorado. My mother loved the mountains, and yeah, she was tired of Florida, and love the beautiful mountains, and that's where she comes alive. So she brought us there.
Did you know anyone in Colorado when you moved? You personally, not your mom, not your brother. Did you know anyone?
Zero.
Do you remember having any thoughts about that move? Obviously, you had thoughts. Do you remember what the thoughts were? Was it exciting, new adventure, something else?
Yeah. As a kid, I was always very chill. I was always very, like I was able to kind of flow with life. And so I was kind of like, yeah, trust it. It's going to be fine. It's going to be great. I think I was excited. I didn't really know anything about Colorado. But yeah, in general, I was excited and kind of trusting life.
Do you want any more coffee or anything else to drink? Or are you good right now?
Do you have it in the pot? Because I don't want you making a whole nother one.
I have it in the pot.
Let's go.
It's hot.
Because I'll take like a half. Would be great. Appreciate it. You guys grab coffee too. Or grab your favorite beverage. We're hanging out.
We're hanging out.
We're live on air.
What kind of kid were you in high school?
Dude, I love these questions. These are questions you never get asked on podcasts. What kind of kid was I in high school?
Yeah.
I was an athlete. I was somebody that had a great friend group. I had a group where the boys out there, we were, our name was the Flock. I was the bird. I was the bird, and my boys were the flock. Yeah, we just all played sports, and we were all in it together, and we all lived in the same general area. So yeah, I was an athlete. In high school, I was actually I think of like the times where I really succeeded in high school. Like I was actually a pretty humble person. Like I definitely had, confidence and at times cockiness with my friends, but I was a pretty humble person around most people. I was pretty respectable. If I'm being honest with myself, I was respectable. I respected other people. I was humble. But with my friends, I might be kind of wild and kind of out there. I have kind of two sides. And yeah, I had a good friend group. I was like, it's interesting. High school was like the popular stuff, like back in the day. I was popular, but I was like between groups. So it was like there was a baseball team and then there was a football team. I played both. So I've always looked at myself as kind of a connector because I could connect the people to make them all friends. And that's what I really do in like group settings is I want everybody to feel amazing. So I want you all to be like, I've run communities, like 55 people in-person communities, and I want everybody to feel amazing. That's my leadership style. So it was like, I was kind of like making friends with the football guys during the football season, but then also, making like my real close buddies were the baseball team. But, I was also like, I had to break through a lot of confidence barriers. Like I had a lot of like shyness to break through and to really step into my voice too. So, I had, at times I had shyness. I had, this is stuff you didn't really talk about as a guy, in that time. But I definitely had that like little shyness and really like breaking through that wall into being my full expression and building that confidence was something I very much focused on in like my early 20s, mid 20s. Yeah.
Why did you care about connecting the baseball team to the football team?
Okay, so my father's last name.
It's not Ferguson?
Is not Ferguson.
Uh-oh.
It's...
Sorry.
It's Makepeace. Makepeace, literally Makepeace. It's actually an English name. People are like, "Oh, that's like a Indian name, right? It's like a Native American." It's actually an English name. It goes back 400 or 500 years. But
Is that his literal name, or is that
Literal.
a translation from something else?
literal name, yeah.
Makepeace.
Peace. Yep.
Right, I know how to spell.
Pace.
that out.
Pace. Make pace.
That's not a bad one
Make
either.
pace. That's kind of cool.
Yeah. Sorry, I interrupted your thought about
Yeah.
your dad and make peace.
All good. So that's essentially what I'm doing, is making the peace. I want everybody to feel amazing, because I've had times where I've, especially in my younger years, like really like struggling or not doing well or not feeling included. I've had some people in my life that just have big personalities, like family in particular, friends that just kind of take up the space in the room. And I know there was, like, growing up, that's what it was like. So there was times where, and I was also the youngest brother, I was the youngest cousin. So I always had to get myself into the conversation. I felt left out. When I was a young kid, because I didn't have the education that my cousins are traveling the world. And they're like, oh yeah, I know about, this thing in Madrid and this thing going on over here. And it's like, I just wanted to contribute to the conversation. Like I wanted to be an extrovert, but I couldn't. It's like I wanted that, but I was an introvert because I couldn't be an extrovert. So I felt left out a lot. And so I was like, so for me, that inspiration of wanting to bring the teams together is for everybody to feel amazing. I want everybody to feel like they're being their best self, feel like they can be who they want to be. That's what it's all about, and that's my business, is like helping people be the best version of who they are.
What kept you from being an extrovert?
I mean, if we really there's like a couple ways I could take that. Really, it's always yourself that holds you back, because we're always reacting in a certain way to life. So if I look back now and I would have coached myself, it was really like myself holding me back. Anybody out there listening, like, it's always a choice on how you react to what happens in life. It's not what happens to you, it's how you react to it. So if I look back and like start to coach that version of me, it was me holding myself back from not taking risks, not facing my fears. But that's all I did after I turned 18 was face my fears, travel around the world, be in a million different states for baseball, like always changing, always growing. Courage was the biggest thing I've done in my life, is always having courage. So
at some point, did you drop football off and just focus on baseball, or did you play both all throughout high school?
Yeah, I played all throughout high school. I loved football. I potentially could have played in college too, but I didn't want to get destroyed as a wide receiver. My quarterback out there, Brody McDonald, love you, man. But yeah, just got left over the middle multiple times my senior year, and would go up and catch, and then just bam, I had a couple, definitely had like at least one concussion. I don't want to say I had two, I might have, but I think I've healed from that now. I could have kept playing. I would have been probably a lower level scholarship as a wide receiver, because I wasn't like really big. But yeah, I stopped after my senior year, and then I was like, okay, I got to focus just on baseball.
When you graduated your senior year of high school, at that time, to the best of your recollection, did you sort of know what the next step was? Did you have a scholarship somewhere? Were you soul searching? What was that moment like after high school?
After high school?
Yeah.
That's another situation where like the father figure or somebody could have come in and be like, okay, you want a scholarship? Like, let's figure out how to get you there. Not having that kind of father figure around. So I pretty much, I had a buddy that was going to the University of Northern Colorado, and it's one of the only Division I baseball schools in Colorado. For some reason, CU and CSU, the biggest schools, don't have baseball. It was a Title IX thing back in the 80s. Anyway, so I was like, okay, luckily, I did have a couple D2 offers, but luckily, because we had an incredible team, we were like literally top 10 in the nation, a lot of the seniors that were before me. So I had to really fight to get into the lineup. I had to really fight to play. So it was only until my senior year that was like, okay, I can really like lock down this position. I can play a lot. The scouts can see me more. And then I started to get more scholarships, you know, kind of, you know, handed to me. But then I was like, okay, I wanted to go Division I. I was like, I'm going Division I. I don't care what it takes. I'm going Division I. I want to play with the best. And so I had a recruited walk-on opportunity at UNC. And so that's where I was going. I went to UNC for a year as a recruited walk-on. A preferred walk-on is what it's called. And I spent a year there. I ended up transferring after the first year, but yeah.
And is that when you ended up transferring to, where was it? Hofstra University?
So I went to Eastern Arizona JUCO, junior college. I had a buddy playing. That was a wild time. I had a buddy playing in middle of nowhere, Arizona. Thatcher, Arizona.
Heard of it.
Yeah, it's Mormon country. There's a bunch of Mormons and a bunch of desert, and nothing against Mormons, but it was out there in the desert. But there was baseball, and there was a lot of drinking at the time. That's all we had to do. But I went there. Actually, I had a really, really good year. My back was against the wall. I was like, I'm going to a junior college after Division I. I have to perform in front of these scouts if I'm going to be able to play Division I again. And so I was like, all right, I got to make this happen. And so I had a pretty good year, really good year. And then I got a scholarship to Temple across the country. So I go Colorado, Arizona, and then boom, somehow my coach gets me a connection, scholarship to Temple University. Along the way...
That's here in Texas? Sorry.
No, Temple was in Philly.
Oh. Okay.
Philadelphia, yeah. Pennsylvania, yep. And so my girlfriend, I had a kind of a high school sweetheart. You know, we were together for 3 years. We decided to get back together after breaking up, and I took her and my dog and my car and drove across the country to Philadelphia. Yeah. Terrible decision with the high school girlfriend. No, it all meant to happen, but we were not a good fit living together at freaking 20 years old. Like, we didn't know what we were doing. But all wonderful in hindsight. And we have a good relationship. But
why was it not a good fit at the time?
The relationship?
Yeah.
Well, we were just immature. We didn't understand how to have like a healthy relationship. You know, we would sometimes like be mean to each other, or, I'd be talking to other girls, or she'd be talking to, another guy, and but we really loved each other. But then we would, we would be a little jealous, and it's very, very just immature in like a young relationship. So that's why it didn't work out in the long term.
I have a hard time imagining you being mean to someone. You seem like such a non-mean person.
Yeah.
How old are you now?
I'm 32.
You're 32. Okay.
Yep.
How long were you in Philly for?
I was in Philly for, it was just the first semester. And the first semester, after the first semester, the Friday before finals week, they brought 7 sports into this big coliseum, and they were like, oh, by the way, you're cut. Like, all these sports are cut. It was like baseball, softball, men's and women's track. It was like all these different sports. Sorry, guys, your sports are cut. I just got a scholarship there. Like, I could have played out the spring, but yeah, it was crazy. It was pandemonium. But then Hofstra University called me over Christmas break. They were like, hey, we heard your program got cut. We need a center fielder. Our guy is suspended for the first 10 games. And I was like, they're at Division I. They're actually playing better schools. We get to go play the University of Mississippi, like down in, oh my God, that's a heck of a, play in the SEC. Like, that's sick. And I was like, yeah. So over Christmas break, I visited Hofstra University in New York. I'm going to another new place, figuring it out again with some Long Islanders. I'm on the island, and I'm like figuring it out. I'm a Colorado guy becoming a New Yorker. And I'm like, how do I do this? So I'm figuring things out on the fly. And so anyway, I spent my last 2 years at Hofstra.
What an adventure your life is. And we're only up to when you're like 20 or 21. We haven't even got to the international stuff yet. Real quick, just so I can be respectful of your time and make sure I frame the rest of this episode correctly, is there a certain time you need to be out of here by?
Not necessarily, no.
Okay, perfect. 3-hour episode. Let's go.
Love it. I'm having fun.
So if I skip something with this next question, feel free to reframe any gaps that I may have missed.
Yeah.
You mentioned in the form that you filled out that you had an abrupt moment in your baseball career where you decided to give it up.
Yep.
Before we get to that moment, is there any pieces of context in your journey that you'd like to talk about first, or should we go ahead and jump to whatever that moment was?
We can jump to that moment.
Let's jump to that moment. Where were you? How old were you? Give us a little context before you jump into the moment.
Bang. I was 25 years old. I was in southern Colorado playing for that baseball team, Trinidad Triggers. And I was, there was like hundreds of people that would show up to the games, and it was like 7 p.m. right before the game started. I was stretching. I always did the same routine, the same athlete routines to get myself ready to play at my peak performance. And I was just stretching before the game. And I remember just pausing and just kind of stopping for a minute. I call it like a spiritual download. I just like pause, or you could call it an epiphany, or just something hit me. And I just remember like put my hands on my hips and like looking up at the lights for a moment and being like, I don't even know who I am beyond sports. I have no clue. I don't know what I would do. I don't know. I was so tunnel vision for 20 years. This is what I want. This is what I'm making happen. I don't care what anybody says. It worked, but I didn't know myself. And this is a big thing that happens with a lot of athletes. It's very common. Is like you're spending like 20 years going after something. That's your identity. That's who you are. It's like
baseball, football, baseball, football, baseball, football, go, 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 go.
Well, it's like everything around it. It's like your nutrition, like your workouts, like your recovery, your routines before the game, like the hydration, like the off season, the in season stuff you're doing, like it's everything. And so your whole life is that, because if you didn't do that, you wouldn't get there. You wouldn't get there. If you didn't put all your chips in, you don't get to like pro baseball. You don't get to levels of professional sports. You just don't. You have to put everything in there, all of your eggs in one basket. And so, yeah, a lot of athletes experience that, and where they're at the end of their career and they're like, wow. And it's not even just athletes. It's also like doctors. Like just anytime you're making a big transition, I always say it's like you can kind of simulate it. So it's kind of the same thing as if like you're a doctor and you spent 20 years going after something and being a doctor and doing really well, but then all of a sudden somebody said, nope, can't do it anymore. All those 20 years are gone. Mm-hmm. Go play the violin. You're like, all right, I got to figure it out now. And you go from this status of like, I'm amazing, I'm great, like, wow, I can do anything, which does help you in the next chapter. But you have people watching you, you're performing all the time, you're in front of these crowds, you're loving it. But it's like, then you go from boom, you're a nobody, start over. And it's like, holy shit, that's hard. That's really hard. So that transition is something, yeah, we need for athletes.
And military people.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. 100%.
And doctors, apparently.
Springing up doctors, I don't know why.
So did you quit baseball that day?
Not that day, but that season. And everybody was, kind of a funny story, everybody was like shocked, because I was having a good season. I hit like 379. Like I could have kept playing. I could have kept making it, playing in the Frontier League, like the American Association, and then I could have like transferred over to affiliated ball. Obviously a long road, but I had potential. and I had 2 good seasons, but I was like, you know what? It's very unlikely I'm going to make it to the major leagues. So that season I just stopped, and people were like, what? You had a great season. Why would you stop now? And I went kind of cold, like off the map, off the grid. I wasn't posting on any social media platform. I wasn't training anymore. And then I went, I had a friend tell me this, Phildrick Llewellyn, my man, out there. He told me this like a year later. He was like, you left and had the best batting practice of your life. Like you hit 4 home runs, whatever. 3 out of 4 swings were home runs, and you changed your swing, and it's the best I've ever seen after the season. And then you went cold turkey, off the map. Nobody knew where you were. And then you show up on Instagram, like in India, on this temple, this like big orange temple with like a railing in front of me, and I'm just like this with like a dot on my eye, on my third eye. And he's like, I didn't know what happened, bro. He's like, I thought you went off the rails. Like I was worried about you. Like you just showed up and you're totally different. And that was like the beginning of the kind of just finding myself, finding out who I wanted to be next. What the heck was the next chapter? Who am I beyond sports? And so, yeah, it was pretty funny, like looking back at that.
Wish I had a story to interject here so you could have some time to sip your coffee. I think I've seen you like 6 times go to take a sip, ask you a question, put it right back down. Not allowing you to get caffeinated this morning.
Yeah, no,
Sorry.
I'm getting my sips. I'm good, man.
Did you graduate college?
I failed. No, just kidding. Yeah, I did. After because I played baseball, I finished that summer after. Yeah.
Why a degree in psychology at the time? Do you know what your thinking was?
You know, at the time I was, I transferred so many times. I transferred before the transfer portal. Like now they have that transfer portal where you can just go from, CU to Syracuse, like no problem. You couldn't do that before. So I transferred before the transfer portal. And what was your question?
Why psychology is a
why
major?
psychology?
Yeah.
So when I got to Hofstra, they're like, based off of the credits you've taken, you've got 3 choices to graduate on time. You can either, do sociology. Mm-hmm. I was like, okay, that's like decent. You could be a cop. You could do criminology. I was like, I'm definitely not a cop. That's not me. Or you can, do psychology. I was like, you know what? Psychology is interesting. I love to know why people act the way they do, why I act the way I do. How can I improve? How can I and that's why I got so into personal development. So I chose psychology. I had one of 3 choices.
How did you know you weren't a cop or a criminology major?
I'm just not. Yeah, just like that. That whole job and everything about it is just not me. I'm not enforcing. I've got nothing against cops, but it just wasn't me. I don't know how to describe it. It just wasn't my path at all. You just kind of know, like, nope, that's not it. That's not my path. Nope, 0. Yeah. I think I grew up I actually, if I'm being honest, fully honest, I grew up with a family, really, my mother, I love you, with my mother was kind of didn't really like cops. Kind of because for different reasons or this or that, she didn't really like, probably like getting pulled over or she was very much a free spirit and didn't want anybody to tell her what to do. So like anybody that would have any authority, she wouldn't really necessarily like it. So yeah, she just didn't like cops, if I'm being totally honest. And so I never looked at it as a path for me. And also it just doesn't resonate with me. So that was kind of a preconditioning for my mother. But yeah, for me, it was that's just not a role that would make sense for me. So later on, I developed my own beliefs, which happens to all of us. We can rewire our beliefs about what we think about, different people in society. But that's what I grew up with. And then, I have plenty of friends that, are cops and people I know, but that's how I grew up.
When you think about your mom, what's one word that comes to mind?
I had two. Free-spirited and love. The best thing, my mom had her challenges, has her challenges. The best thing about my mother and my parents in general, both of them, is that they have their flaws. Like, they have their talents, they have their skills. They also have their flaws, like every human being. And a lot of them, sucked as a kid. A good amount of them. But the thing about my mother is that no matter what, she would show up with unconditional love. I could be whoever I wanted to be. Like, if I wanted to, go be gay tomorrow, I always say as a joke, she would be like, okay, great, I love you. The freedom that you get from a mother and family that unconditionally loves you allows you to be all of you, who you can be. When you get that unconditional love, like, hey, who do you want to be? Who do you want to be in life? Yeah. What do you want? I'm going to love you no matter what. You're going to choose that? Okay, great. It's not about choosing. You should do this with your career. You can have suggestions. But for me, when she showed up with that unconditional love, it's the most powerful thing you can do, because now I can be all of who I am, and you're just going to support that.
Same question for your dad.
One word I think of him?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it's the same thing, like unconditional love. When I think of my parents, it's really, they both just want the best for us no matter what. They just have this level of unconditional love. Like, there's no boundaries on, because it's not their life. It's, we're different people, right? Even if we have a direct connection, we're different people. So I would still say unconditional love for my father too. Support is another one. Like, that dude, he'll support me no matter what. Like, he's got my back, man. He's got my back. He'll always be there. He was there through the times where I'm in indie ball and I'm calling my dad, like I'm in the middle of Park City, Utah, and that's actually a beautiful place, but I was having to, there was just tough times where I was grinding every single day and I didn't know that many people in the area, and I was training with this hardcore coach, and I'm like living with a family at the time and just grinding in indie baseball. Or I would be, on the road and just had a 0 for 4 game, and this is my life, but I just struggled in that game, and I call my dad, and he's always there. He's always there. So I definitely appreciate that.
What about Ryan?
Wise. Sage. Yeah, my brother really also very much supported me. Just wanted the best for me. He did, go through some struggles. And he's a very unique human being. He's really brilliant, and but it's like, yeah, what would you say? Like, he had some really tough times, but he is, what is the word? Kind of like a gypsy. He's just how would I describe it? He's just a really, really wise, highly spiritual person. We have, ways that were definitely different. Like you were mentioning the kids that grew up in the same womb, but they're totally different people. Mm-hmm. In some ways, we are totally different people. In other ways, we are very similar. And so he's really a brilliant person, and yeah, he's gone through a lot of hard times. Like on social media and Instagram, these places, we don't like always talk about the hard things. But my brother went through a lot of shit, and it's hard to see that, but he's come out on the other side a really incredible person, and he's got an incredible little son, and yeah, so I love my brother, and he's doing amazing things in the world.
Before we get to your world travels, because I do want to touch on those, I have a 4-part question for you. What is your relationship with nature?
That's my place that's my place where I thrive. First word that came to mind was like heal. When I get out there and I'm in nature, especially in the mountains, I'm alive. I'm so alive. Like I rock climb, I'll scale like Flatirons in Boulder. I come so alive in nature, and it's very healing to me. It's very free. I can really be myself. Yeah.
When I first moved here, when I signed the lease on this apartment, I thought I was only going to stay here 9 months, and that would give me 9 months to sort of move around Austin, figure out what neighborhood I want to land in. Yeah. And as soon as I moved in here, it only took a couple weeks when I could just tell. I was like, we're going to stay here for a few years.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, dude, like, look at it. If it wasn't for that fucking awning right there, like, we're surrounded by a forest.
Yeah.
It's so cool
I know.
up here.
I know. It is awesome. I was driving up here, and I was like, yeah, I love it.
How do you feel right now? Is it too hot, too cold? Is it good?
It's fine.
Okay. What's your relationship like with community?
Community. I am a connector. I am somebody that loves to bring people together. Community is something that is vital, not only for let's just say for both fulfillment and success. Like you have to have people you are connected to that are supporting you. Like you have to have that. You have to have people that are really got your back, are going to do this thing for you, are going to really support you here. Like we all need a village to be our best self. Like we need many people to be our best. Like nobody achieves success alone. Nobody, like you can say that, but it's just not true. You have people supporting you. So community to me is really important. And it's like I've brought together like personal development communities and meetups, like 55 people. And we would do these meetups at least a couple times a month. And we would really connect, because the reality of today's society is like a lot of us don't really go to church anymore like we used to, like a lot of our parents did. It's just not the same thing where every Sunday you just go and you have to go, and that's where the community is. But these days everything's so separated. But it's also an opportunity. We get to create our community now. We get to go, I have access to all these people around the world. Mm-hmm. What do I really want in community? What do I really desire? What would really fill me up? And that was something in 2020 during COVID that I was like really thinking hard about, because I was very lonely at the time, transitioning from where I was to what I was becoming. And so I went through a process of like, okay, what do I really want in my growth friends? And I know there's so many people out there that feel lonely. I know it. Like there's probably people listening right now that are like, yeah, I feel lonely from time to time, especially men, Mm-hmm. Like we need brothers. We need each other, and I've been there, like I've done that. And now it's like I have friends all around the world. So honestly, community is everything to me. It's like without that, I'm not living my best life. I need my people. I always say like good people, good life. Good people, good life.
What is your relationship? And I'm going to use a couple terms here for the sake of the audience. I think you're going to be fine with this term, but I want to keep the audience in. So
Yeah.
what is your relationship like with either God, source, Mother Nature, a higher power, whatever word you would attribute to that thing out there?
Yeah.
For you, what's your relationship like with that thing right now?
That relationship is, for me, I didn't grow up with a religious background. Like, nothing. I was very much scientific. My grandfather was an economist on my mother's side. And so he actually didn't believe in science. He didn't believe in God, or, he just didn't believe. He was kind of atheist, if you will. And so I grew up with no religion, nothing, but I always had my own connection. It was a very personal connection. I remember being like 12 years old in my bed and just like praying, like, God, thank you so much for my life. Thank you so much for these things that happened today. And this is what I really want. I want to be a pro athlete. I want to be a pro athlete. So I developed my own, I started praying about that early on. And I just developed my own connection. I developed my own connection with God. And now for me, it's evolved a lot, but it's a process of constantly being in touch with my higher self. Like, I have the ability to be in touch with my lower self or my ego and be defensive and be aggressive and be hurt by everything and take everything personal. Or I have the ability to go, do I really need that to affect me? Or is that my ego speaking? And so for me, it's especially now, it is always connecting to that highest version of me. Sometimes I hear voices in my head.
You do too?
Oh, yeah.
Thank God.
We
I'm
all
not
have
alone.
voices.
No, I'm
Yeah.
kidding. That's all of us.
Yeah. No, it's sometimes I have just a connection to, when you're really searching for like the right answer in any situation. Sometimes I'll ask God, like, okay, what's the best way forward for me here? Like, what kind of opportunities am I looking for that will solve this problem? And so it's a constant thing. I can either be in my lower self and take everything personal and my ego can get affected and I can think people are doing this to me or that to me. I can be a victim, or I can decide I want to be my best self. I want to be my highest self. I know who I am, and I'm going to be the best of who I am in every moment.
Last question before we ask about your world travels. What is your relationship like to your dreams?
That's a good question. It's everything is the first thing that comes to mind. I've always been a dreamer. I've always been a visionary. It's like sometimes I do think like what would happen if I didn't have my dreams or my vision, It's everything to me. Since I was 9 years old, I knew exactly what I wanted. I was like, that's what I want. That's what I'm going to make happen. I don't care what anybody says. I'm going to be a pro athlete. And then between that time and starting my own business and having clients and being an entrepreneur and coaching people, and podcasts and all that stuff, I had a time where I didn't know what I want. I was trying things out. Boom, let me try this. Boom, let me try this. Boom, let me try this. And then once I created the new dream, or I created a very specific vision of the person I was going to become and the life I was going to live, that's when it all just streamlined so fast. Like within 2 years, I 4x'd my income. I found hundreds of amazing friends around the world when I had been previously lonely before, because I was transitioning from this whole athlete space to what am I next. Hundreds of amazing like-minded souls around the world, starting communities, found my dream job, started to get into podcasting, started 2 businesses. Once I got clear on that next vision, you could say dream too, but I like to use vision because a vision is a lot more specific. But once I got clear on that vision, everything streamlined and all these things started happening in my life because I had a direction. I had a direction again. Oh, that's it. That's the top of the mountain. That's the peak for me of where I'm headed. I need to pee.
Go pee.
How is this helping you in your mission right now, man?
How is this helping me in my mission? Well, you're giving me an episode release.
Let's go.
How is this helping me in my mission?
Yeah. What is your mission?
What is my mission? My ultimate goal for the podcast is that one day I start getting either emails or DMs from people who say something to the effect of, I tuned into, I searched, I searched motivational podcasts, and I found your episode with Eric. And 10 minutes in, when you were talking about how you were an accountant, you were bored, you were anxious, I resonated with that immediately, so I decided to tune into the rest of the episode. And as I listened to Eric's story, I decided to quit my job, spend 6 months traveling to locations X, Y, and Z, and fast forward, and that was 3 years ago. And ever since then, I am now, living the life that I've always dreamed of, but I was too scared to chase.
Fuck yeah.
So that's how you're helping me, is that I know that every episode I record, whether it's with a musician, another podcaster, a therapist, a rock climber, an author, a gym bro, an actress, I think that one thing that links us all humans together is storytelling. And I've even heard that like Indians back in the day, when they would go to war, the first thing that they would do when they got back from the war, like the very first thing, is they would build a giant bonfire or multiple bonfires, and the whole village would get together and they would just put everything out there, and they would spend hours telling stories, and they would talk about the trauma that they brought back from the people they killed. They would bring back the wins from what the war accomplished for their village or for their tribe. And so no matter who's sitting across from me, as we tell these stories, I think that my hope is that we're giving people 2 hours on a weekly basis to sort of remember what it means to be human. And then as they're listening to your story and my story, they start thinking about their own story, and they think about, here are the wins, here are the losses. To your point, what can I learn from these losses to then capitalize on more wins, and then to start to be proactive about writing their story, and instead of being reactive like you were talking about and letting life write their story for them, they start to realize that I am the author, and that because I haven't taken responsibility over my relationships, I haven't taken responsibility over my job, I haven't taken responsibility over my health, I haven't taken responsibility over my finances. After listening to 10 different wildly people stories, from musicians to authors to MMA fighters, I'm starting to realize that no matter what my gender is, no matter what my religious background is, no matter who my parents were, we're all people, and we are all on the same earth, and we're all looking for the same thing, and we're actually not that different after all. We're actually all the same, and we're all I think we're all panicking about who am I, what is my story, what is my legacy. If I stepped off a curb today and got hit by a bus, what would people remember? And so if I can just provide a platform where people can just escape, not even escape, but they can just sort of put their reality aside for 2 hours and really just think about, what is my story up to this point and what do I want it to be going forward, then this podcast is doing exactly what it was made to do.
Bam! Drop the mic. I love that. I love that. I can see why we have met.
Yes.
I can see. I want to support your mission. I love that, man. I love that mission.
Yeah, I get excited talking about it.
Yeah.
Fired up right now.
I can see it. And it reminds me of, like, what is a full potential life? Like, years ago I thought about, like, what is a full potential life? What is your best life? And for me, it's like you can kind of look at all the different areas and how to maximize those. You can look at your career, finance, all these different things. But it kind of came down to 4 things for me. And it was like, okay, fulfillment. Am I living the life that I desire? Do I love my life? Do I love where I'm headed, at least? fulfillment. Am I loving my life? It's 4 parts. Number 1 is fulfillment. Like, if you're not enjoying your life, why are you here? Go find that life you love. You've got one. It's going to end. All of our lives are going to end. You got to live it up. You got to live your best life. You got to have that fulfillment. Like, yeah, I love my life. And everybody can get there. Everybody's got that seed of passion that they need to blossom. Fulfillment. 2, success. Like, how can you take your passion and what you do to a level of success that you're doing well at it, that you're contributing to the world in a positive way? So it's kind of like success and contribution. But how can you have success with what you love to do? So it's fulfillment, it's success, doing well, you don't have to, like, the old model of success for me is, for a lot of my clients is like, yeah, like, let's either be extremely rich, be unfulfilled, have poor relationships, not really be loving what we do, but at least I have a bunch of money. All right, that's not really fulfilling, living in an empty house. Mm-hmm. Or there's people on the other side, and this is why full potential living came in. Is that on the other side, it's like, well, there's a lot of people out there that might be highly spiritual, and they're like, yeah, I want to just love my life, I want to have personal fulfillment, but I'm broke. I don't have freedom. I can't go do the things I want to do. I can't fully express myself because I don't have the money I need to do the things I want to do. It's like, we don't have to choose one or the other. Mm-hmm. So many people are like, oh, rich people are bad. Or other people are like, oh, like, maybe poor people aren't as educated, or they can't, or I'm better than them. We don't have to choose one or the other. That's the old model of success. That's a bunch of bullshit. Like, we can live, especially this day and age, we can live all these things that are important. We can freaking love our life and find the version of success that we want, the level of success that we desire. We don't have to choose one or the other. We can be super happy, fulfilled, and successful, right? And the third part is generational impact. We're at a point where it's time, and we've always been at a point where it's time. What are you doing for those people that are coming in? Okay, great, you're fulfilled. Okay, great, you're successful. Now, how is your work, how is your life contributing to the next generation? And for me, it's like, how is my life contributing so that the next generation's life is way better than mine? Like, my grandfather flew 55 missions in World War II with a B-17 as a B-17 pilot. And I know, like, he went through hard times, and he would be sitting here going, wow, you have that freedom to be who you want to be. My grandfather fought for that in World War II. He was the pilot of a B-17, and I know he would want my life to be better. Right? So it's like, how is our life, in whatever way it's right for you, how is our life making the next generation's life way better? For me, that's beyond legacy, because legacy to me is like, okay, what is it's kind of like a personal thing, but generational impact is, how is my life making the next generation's life way better? It's beyond me. It's a bigger thing. And then the fourth thing is, how are we developing our own consciousness? There's different words I could use here, but how are we developing our consciousness? Meaning, because for me, the top of the mountain as a human being, the peak, the very top you can get to, most people think the peak of the human experience through society, through different things, is the career and the finances. Mm-hmm. They think, oh, if I just have the money, if I'm respected, that's the top of the mountain. I've made it. Mm-hmm. It's not true. That's here. The peak of the human experience is a state of being. It's a state of being in how you feel and what you understand about what's happening here. The peak of the human experience is this knowing state of what's happening here. It's this knowing state of who you are. It's this development of consciousness to get connected to this higher power. It's living through that higher power. That's the peak of the mountain. It's a state of being. Some thousands of years ago would call it enlightenment. Mm-hmm. There's some people on this planet they just know what's happening. They are our leaders. I think of people that on the eastern side of the world, like Sadhguru. That dude is complete, like, he knows, like, he's sitting, laughing, telling people all about life. He has no script. People are asking him questions. He's in a state of knowing because he's connected to this higher power all the time. He's, quote unquote, enlightened, or he's developed himself so that he is really highly connected to this higher state of being, this consciousness or God or whatever you want to call it. So we have to understand, and this is what we need to break. We have to understand the peak of the mountain. You can still have a good career. You can still, be respected and have a lot of money, but understand that that's not the peak experience of humanity. There's something greater, because when you get here, there's thousands, millions of people that have gotten here and they're like, I still feel empty. Well, there's a reason for that. That's not the peak experience. We've known thousands of years back that the peak experience is a state of being. It's all knowing. It's understanding what's happening here. Who am I? What is this all about? It's understanding the bigger picture. It's being fulfilled. It's being blissful. It's being at peace. When we look at David Hawkins, his book, Letting Go, PhD, Letting Go, he has this chart where all these emotions are on this chart. And everything is energy. If you look at Einstein, you look at all these great philosophers or people, everything's energy when we really break it down, right? Quantum physics, if you want to go into that. But what David Hawkins outlined for us was that there are a range of emotions that we experience as human beings, and they're on different frequency levels. At the peak, at the top of the human experience, there is this enlightened state that he talks about. But right about 700 to 1,000, right below that is peace. Most people are like, oh, it's probably like enthusiasm, it's joy. Like, peace is right below enlightenment. This kind of enlightened state of all-knowing. Right below that is joy. Peace is almost at the very top. So what we're really looking for, and we all know this, conceptually you know this, so start looking more within to find what you truly do. We all know that all those things outside don't necessarily fulfill us, right? Those are just things along the way, milestones along the way of the journey, right? And so peace, joy, these things are what we're actually after. We're actually after peace and joy by accomplishing that thing. But we don't realize that the peace and joy is already within there, right? So it's enjoying that journey along the way, and the peak of the mountain is that state of being.
This might be connected, it might not, but I have to ask, because there could be a link here when you were talking about consciousness. Why aren't you drinking this year?
Yeah, great question. I'm not, everybody's got their own journey. For me, it doesn't do anything anymore, really. I'll say there can be times that it would be nice, but every time like I would go back to it, it's like it doesn't really do anything, because there's better things. And for me, it's like alcohol just fogs my brain. I don't need that anymore to come out of my shell. Mm-hmm. Like, that was when I was young. Like, I don't need that. I've got vulnerabilities. I've got flaws. Like,
is that the purpose it served initially? It helped you get out of that introverted mode that you were in?
Yeah, it definitely was. It definitely was. I think it is for a lot of people. And yeah, it's like once you face your own flaws, your own fears, or you might do some shadow work, like the fears don't run your life anymore. Like, oh, they can't see me because I'm like vulnerable, and like all this stuff. Like I'm an open book today, like all these things that like, yeah, I have great skills, but I also have great flaws that I'm working on, Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter where you're at. Like whatever you've accomplished, those people still have flaws. I've been working through so much personal growth over the last month, so much ego work to grow my own personal brand, to just grow myself, but also grow my business. It's so much ego work, and not letting my fears get in the way of my best self. So it's, yeah, that's what it's about.
What is shadow work?
Shadow work, I'm not necessarily an expert there or anything, but basically from my experience, if you want to look into that, I would look at Carl Jung. He's really kind of talked a lot about shadow work, but essentially it's like, like people get freaked out by that. It doesn't have to be something weird. It's just what you're doing is you're looking at those sides of yourself that you've pushed away for so long. You're observing them. Go, oh, even as a child, like I was going through this, and I don't really show that side of myself to the world. I'm not really vulnerable. I'm not really, like, these fears that I have, I haven't really expressed them. So it's really, once you face your deeper fears or your deeper vulnerabilities, they don't have power over you anymore. And you can go, oh, like, yeah, I'm not perfect. I am flawed. Like, okay, every human being is. So it allows you to have more peace. It allows you to be more of yourself because you're not trying to be so perfect. So it's really just looking at those sides of yourself that you've shoved away. That you've gone, I can't show that to the world. I can't be that. I can't be fearful. I can't be I can't be a man and be like super joyful and kind and still get respect. Bullshit. Yes, you can. Like, all these sides of ourselves, these fears we have that we've shoved away to try to be like what we think the world wants us to be. And once you open that can and you observe them, now they don't have power over you. And they're still there. You're still working on stuff, but they don't have power anymore. So you can be more free. You can be more of yourself. And that's why shadow work is important. We can look at the positives all day long. Yes, I'm going this way, I'm going that way, but we're kind of avoiding a lot of the negatives. Like, I don't want to look at that. Once you do, it doesn't have power over you anymore.
Yeah. To follow up on what you just said, if you heard this term shadow work and you are one of those individuals that falls into the camps of like, oh, what the fuck is that?
Yeah.
I want to give a quick plug to one of my friends. Her name is Jessica DePazzi. The S is silent. So if you look up Jessica, last name on YouTube is DEPATIE, and she is the host of a podcast called The Shadow Work Library, and she has a great video that I think is only 7.5, maybe 8.5 minutes long, where she gives her pitch on shadow work, what it is, and then, as the podcast name implies, there is a whole library of resources around different shadows that she has contended with and how she has come out on the other side of those shadows. So if that's something that you want to explore further as a result of that 5-minute conversation we just had, there's a resource for you. Shadow Work Library on YouTube with Jessica DePazzi. Did you meet her by chance?
No.
When you lived in Austin? She moved to Canada, so she's not here anymore, unfortunately. But if she ever comes back, I'll try to introduce you guys.
Yeah.
Let's pivot a little bit here.
Yeah.
So you graduate college and you decide at some point to take a career break and travel. Mm-hmm. Correct?
Well, I played 2 years of graduate college. Then I spent 1 year training in Park City, Utah, and developing myself as an athlete and redoing everything. And then I played 2 years of baseball after that in the professional leagues.
Okay, and then after that, you decided to travel?
After that, yep.
Why?
That was the self-discovery journey. So that was when I had that moment where I was like, I don't even know who I am beyond sports. That was my second year of pro ball. And so I traveled because, I had a lot of my family, we have a lot of travelers in our family, people that, just travel a lot. And the biggest thing that travel does is it breaks you out of the norm. It breaks you out of what you're constantly thinking, feeling like. So there's so much that comes with travel. You start to see different, because you're in a new place, a new environment. Like in my opinion, you have to travel because it shows you how other people are living in the world. And you go, whoa, I didn't think you could live that way. Look at this person in freaking Nepal is like, carrying this thing, or people in London are, in London. Not the greatest
that was a
accent.
Terrible imitation, but better than anything I could do. So
Whenever, for me, accents, I'm actually pretty good at them, but once I have to hear it before. Once I hear the accent, then I can I'm an imitator. I can imitate, but if I just kind of come off the cuff, it's harder for me.
What's the best accent that you can imitate right now?
It'd probably be it'd probably be like a British accent or like an Australian accent, or it can really be like, it's like sounds, it's like, it's not a specific like, type of dialect or language. It's just kind of like I hear it and I can repeat it a lot of the time.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's a good skill.
It's a funky little skill, right? Yeah.
Where'd you go first when you decided to travel?
I went all around Europe. I went to six different countries in Europe. I spent over a month backpacking, and yeah.
How'd you wind up in Nepal?
Great question. God. my destiny. No, I was consciously, how was it? How did it happen? Because Nepal was before India. And I was just fascinated by meditation and like psychology and studying my mind, that I wanted to figure out. I mean, as an athlete, you're like always training your mind to be positive, to like focus on, visualize what you want. So I was, what brought me there was just, also the Himalayas. That's okay. That was the main thing. The Himalayas are unbelievable. I'm a mountain guy. I love the mountains. Himalayas were unbelievable. Like I read a book in college, and my aunt who passed away, she always wanted to go to the Himalayas, and so she was writing about it, but she had books, and so I read a book, and I was like, I want to get to the peak, like, and so that's why I went. I was fascinated by the mountains there in the Himalayas. Yeah.
Did you get to the peak of the Himalayas?
No.
Did you try?
No, the peak, like, so they're 28,000 feet essentially above sea level. Compared to that, Colorado peaks are 14,000. Those are like really high in and of themselves. Mm-hmm. You look at 14, it's literally double the height. So like you go to Colorado, those are 14,000. You go to Nepal, they're 28. So that's where the highest mountain in the world is, right? Mount Everest. So when you get to base camp, I went to Annapurna base camp. When you get to base camp, you're at 14,000 feet. That's like where people start out to start climbing. So you have to climb to climb. And that's some intense stuff.
When you were in Nepal, you got to wash a bowl.
Wash a bowl?
Didn't you? A bowl like the animal, not a bowl, B-O-W-L.
Oh.
A bowl, B-U-L-L.
Yeah. I thought you meant like a singing bowl or something. I was like, I don't think I did.
Like, now David's just making random stuff up about my life.
Seriously. No, I did do that. I was on a rice farm. I met a girlfriend, was madly in love. And at the top of Annapurna Base Camp, we had met, and she was gorgeous. And I don't know, we just really gelled. And she knew about this workaway, like in this Shukranagar, Nepal. You don't know where it is. Nobody knows where that is. Shukranagar. And Shukranagar, Nepal, is in between Pokhara and Kathmandu. It's right in between, which is like 6-7 hour bus ride between Kathmandu and Pokhara on like mountain roads. It's pretty intense. But in the middle of that is Shukranagar, and it's like in the, it's rice fields. And so she was like, I know this workaway in Shukranagar. I'm like, where the heck is that? And so she brought us out there where you stay with a family, like totally genuine, totally like out there, but they have people stay with them to like usually like more like college kids or like younger people to like understand how they live out there. And so you're also like you're on the farm, like you're seeing how they're pulling the rice. I washed a bull. They had one in their stall, like at their house, where they had this bull and they would wash it every day, but it was like very sacred to them. So they would wash him, and like, it was like a car wash, he's just like, and he's like loving it. He's like, yeah. And you're like getting under his belly. And so, yeah, we washed a bull, and yeah.
What was his name?
I don't remember. I don't know.
You don't remember his name?
No.
Oh my goodness.
Some of those names are hard to remember.
So it wasn't like Kevin.
Definitely not. Definitely not an American name that I would remember. It was something like Shukranagar. Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, before I ask that, what did you teach in Botswana, and how did that ended up playing out?
Love it. I went there because my father had a connection to Maruapula, which actually means rain clouds. But in Botswana, it's an incredible private school that sends people to like Stanford or Harvard or whatever from Africa to, the United States for higher level education. So that's how my father had a connection there, and I was in between baseball, like my baseball career and like what is next. So I was like, okay, I'm kind of a teacher. And so, yeah, so what happened there was I was actually a kind of like a staff teacher for the whole school. And these people are like very intelligent, very like, I was like, never been a teacher before, just jumping right in. And there's actually a funny story when I first got there. We can get to that. But yeah, I taught the sports program. I was a part of like helping them with sports, but then I was also mindfulness. So I would teach. So a lot of these kids are super stressed, after they're studying and they're 18, 17 years old, they're trying to get into freaking Harvard, or they're just high level schools around the world. And so they were extremely stressed. So they actually had a program where they would do, they would relieve their stress. And so at that time I was doing a little mindfulness, and I was teaching the kids like how to relax, basically like meditation, like body scans. So you can like literally feel each part of your body like relax so that you can really release stress. So that's what I was doing at that time.
What was the funny story that you were going to tell?
When I got there, okay, so we went over as a family. We actually did a safari.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
That is on my bucket list. Sorry to interrupt you, but that is... Keep going, please.
Yeah, it was incredible. I want to go back and that's a whole story of itself. My life is a freaking wild story, man. It's been incredible. But we flew in a 4 or 6-seater Cessna plane, Cessna 205 or something like that, across the Okavango Delta in Botswana, which is this beautiful, like what you see in, the documentaries of all the animals and, the wild, whatever those documentaries are called. For some reason, I'm spacing it.
Nature documentaries?
Nature documentaries. There's another word for it. But, yeah, anyway, we flew across this. So I'm literally like in this tiny little plane, just like we're like wobbling a little bit. And we looked down. I took pictures. I could send them to you. And I could see, it almost looked like it was like planet Earth. Like it was like very green, and then there was like dark blue. It's like we were in outer space. Mm-hmm. That was how beautiful it was. And then you could see like little elephants running around. That's how low we were. Like there was a group of elephants like in this like, in this pond or this lake, and then just getting out of the lake, and we're like, oh my God, this is incredible. We're literally like in the wild. And so that took us over to the safari. You have to fly to get to this place because it's out there. The safari was just, I saw so many different animals. I was literally like 5 feet from a massive lion, and we're in this, it's like just a Jeep. It doesn't have like a cage, but if you like as long as you don't stick your arms out of like the kind of, because it's just the bar up top, you know what I'm saying? So it's just wide open. As long as you don't stick your arm out, the lion doesn't know that you are, that you are a human being and that you're a separate being from the whole Jeep, right? So it doesn't know it can kill you yet. So we're 5 feet from these lions that are sitting there with, luckily they're sitting there with huge bellies and they're just like panting because they just ate something, ate an antelope in the desert. And so yeah, we went as a family. I mean, and so, but if you stick your arm out, then they know, and they've actually had people, literally the lion sees it and they're like, oh, and they go up and like kill people. They'll literally like, yeah, chomp you. Scary stuff. But that was wild. That was wild.
What was it like to be in the presence of something that could kill you? I mean, it's basically the same right now with Thad being about 8 feet away. That look you just gave. In all seriousness, what was that? Even though you quote unquote knew you were safe as long as you didn't stick any of your limbs outside the car, what was that like, man?
It's I felt pretty safe because we have a guide that. There's 2 guides that sit at the front. Like they would face off on elephants. Like we had elephants that were, excuse me, that would do these. It's kind of like, it's angry when the ear goes up. This big ass ear just goes up and it starts doing this with its huge leg. And they literally were not fazed by that at all. They were like, yep, we know exactly what he's doing. He's just bluffing because we've seen this exact move all the time. And they were very calm and very steady. So when you go out there, yeah, you need to be with some guides. I will say though, we did decide we wanted to walk out in the Okavango Delta with a guide. And we had to follow a very specific order where he was walking. It was like a single file line. He was walking ahead, and my brother and I were out there. My parents didn't want to go, and we were walking. I remember praying before. I was like, God, keep me safe. Please don't have any lions get me today. I mean, there was times where we were like 10 feet from a freaking elephant that was walking around our camp. That's another memory. And we were peeking around the corner. I was like, oh, shit, there it is. Let's go back inside. That was wild.
So cool.
Oh, it was amazing, man. It's amazing to be that close to nature. And you just got to be smart. So there was definitely times where I was nervous, like especially walking out there. But he had a rifle, so it was like we just had to follow his orders, and we'd be fine, and we could, just look at all times around, like where the lion's at. But we were pretty safe most of the time.
Did you feel like you had any kind of I don't know if this is the right term for what I'm about to ask, but any kind of imposter syndrome trying to help kids prepare to go to prestigious schools like Harvard? Like, what? I'm doing this? What am I, Eric Ferguson, doing? Did any of that cross your mind or not so much?
Yeah, I think with the mindfulness stuff, because I was just, practicing it at the time and like figuring out what mindfulness was and like learning it over a certain period of time. For me, the mindfulness, like my brother was even surprised because like he was going to be teaching it, but then, I was also teaching it, but I just naturally like picked it up and I knew how to so definitely felt that feeling a little bit, but I've been placed in a lot of new settings where it's like, figure it out. And that was actually the story that I, when I first got there that you asked about earlier that I haven't told yet. So I was, the first day I got there, all these smart teachers around and these these kids are like 15, I'm 25. I feel like they've got the same intelligence level. I'm like, Jesus, they've been studying so hard. And so the first day, I talked to some teacher, like we're in early in the morning, we're with all the teachers and they're going over, what happens during the day and you need to know this, you need to know that. And then everybody goes kind of to their classrooms and we were just kind of hanging out with all these smart people. my brother and I. And then we go and I talked to one of the teachers, and they were like, yeah, you're new, like drop by my class later on. Introduce you to the kids. Like, I was like, all right, cool. Wonderful. And so later in the day, whole day goes by, and yeah, it's like I go walk over to the class when she said to walk over. And it's like this group of, again, very intelligent kids, like probably 20 kids in this classroom, 20, 30 kids, whatever. And she's like, oh, I like walk in the back. Everybody's in this like circle, sort of like more like a square, like a total square. And she like, there's like you can walk in through the center, but it's not like the regular desk where it's just like lined up. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? It's like a total circle, and it was actually pretty cool. But she would like talk in the center of it, right? And she would walk around, and instead of being like separate desks. So she's like, okay, Eric, come to the front. I never taught anybody before. I never done anything like of that nature. Just thrown into some random class. I don't even remember the topic. And she's like, okay, Eric, come on up here. And she's like, hey, everybody, this is Eric Ferguson. He's a former, pro athlete. He did this, he did that. And now he's a teacher here at Botswana. I'm in Botswana, Africa. Like, like just picture the scene. Like, yeah. I'm in freaking, and everybody's saying Dumela Ra and Dumela Ma, which is like good morning, miss, and good morning, or hello, and hello, miss, hello, mister. And I'm like, Dumela Ra, Dumela Ma. And I'm like learning everything on the fly. It takes an enormous amount of courage to consistently do this throughout your whole life. But so she's like, okay, come up to the front. I'm like, all right, cool. And I'm like, yeah. She introduced me. And then she just like walks out of the circle of desks, walks around. And I just start, yeah, my name's Eric Ferguson. And then she just, boom, she walks out of the room. Peace. See you later. Nothing, no instructions. She did say, okay, Eric, they're all yours. I was like, what? I was just coming out of it. Like, I had no idea who these kids were. And I was like, okay, what can I talk about? And I actually handled it super well. I was like, okay, all right, we're going to talk about goals. And I'm like, all right, so, what do you guys want to do with your lives? And I started inspiring each kid, like talking to each one individually and going, okay, like, and they're like, wow. And started talking about what are the goals for your life? Where are you headed? Really kind of the beginning of that, some of that coaching stuff, and like, how can you get there? And then I was like, okay, there's something to that. And it was only 10 minutes, but it felt like an hour of me just super nervous, but figuring it out on the fly. And yeah, ended up crushing it. And everybody's like, oh my God, that was so awesome. Like, our teacher never does that. Like, yeah, that was pretty cool. But I was literally just thrown into the fire, like, hey, figure it out.
It's like, a good way to learn.
Yeah.
Was there any goals that one of the students told you that surprised you?
Not really. I remember most of them saying they wanted to go to one of these high-level schools and, yeah, be some different type of career. But, yeah, nothing really sticks out. I mean, that was a while ago, too. I don't know if I remember. But, yeah.
Did you go straight from Europe to Africa?
Or
was there a trip back?
I went back. So I was dating somebody at the time and lived in Florida. I was just coming out of pro baseball. I had this super hot girlfriend. But we were never meant to be like together for a long time, clearly. But I went to Europe, and she's like, don't go to Europe. Like, you just played baseball. I haven't seen you. I was like, I got to go to Europe. I don't know what I'm going to do with my life next. Went around Europe for a year, and then, not a year, a month. And then I came back to Florida, and I worked, and I was doing some stuff, and I was figuring it out, what was my next step in life. And then at the end of that year, that's when I went to Africa. Yeah.
How long were you there for in total?
Africa?
Yeah.
That was over the summer, so that was about three full months.
And then you came back to the States again?
From Africa, I went to Nepal. I had a dream at that time. I was very into like natural medicine. I was very into health. You could say longevity before the word. Health and natural medicine because of some of the problems I'd seen with my own family. And so I started to study like acupuncture. I started to study like nutrition and these different things. I was like, okay, maybe I'm like somebody that is a healer, not a healer, but I was like exploring that path. And I was like, oh, I have this dream. I want to go around the world at 25. And what I want to do is I want to interview all these naturopathic or these natural medicine doctors, interview them, and get their insights on how you can be extremely healthy with natural practices, like before all this stuff became like mainstream. And that was my whole idea. So I planned it out. I had like Botswana, then I had Nepal, then it was like Egypt, and then it was like Southeast Asia, and then I thought about like going to Japan and just continuing to go east and then come all the way around the world. And I was like, how cool would that be if I said I went around the world at 25? And so, but what happened was I went from Botswana teaching there, and then I went to Nepal, and then my grandmother had actually passed away, and so there was a memorial service, and so I had to go back to the States, and she was a very, very important person in my life. So that kind of stopped the journey of kind of the naturopathic idea of going around the world at 25, interviewing all these naturopathic doctors. So stopped that and then went home.
Do you still want to visit all those places at some point, even if would it be for the same reason or for different reasons?
Different reasons. I want to go to, I'm not sure about I guess I do have some connections still in Botswana, but definitely want to go back to Nepal and climb higher peaks. Yeah, definitely for that purpose. I want to get to those higher peaks, 20,000, maybe 20,000 feet, do there, and then, yeah.
Are you scared of heights?
No.
That's good.
Definitely. I mean,
Terrifying.
if I'm on an edge, like, I could show you a picture of me rock climbing.
Yeah. Well, you pull up this picture. When you were talking about when you were in Africa and you were seeing the elephants from the plane, have you ever been skydiving?
No, I almost did once, but it got canceled that day.
Boo. I've been skydiving about 7 times now, and
wow.
Dude, when we jumped out of the plane, there was that initial fear of like, oh shit, I'm jumping out of the plane.
Yeah.
But then once you're suspended above Earth, even during the free fall, before you pull the parachute, there is something very meditative and peaceful about seeing the planet from that perspective for yourself versus like seeing it on a TV and a documentary, where you just couldn't be more at peace. I couldn't even tell you what it is. There's just something about like you see Earth and you see the ocean and the ground, maybe some clouds, depending on how high you jump from. And as scary as it is, I've never been so scared and so at peace at the same time. And it's like, how?
I love it.
It's so weird and awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a lot of the times, that's how I would describe rock climbing. Like, you're so in the moment, you're so in flow, but yet like if you don't make the right move, you're going to fall. You're going to fall 10 to 15 feet if you're climbing with a rope. Hopefully you are. And you can whip into the rock, or you can fall 10, 20, maybe 20 feet and like land on a ledge that's below you. So it's like you're really on it at that. So you're scared. It's also the most beautiful thing in the world.
Let's see this picture.
Yeah. So
and if
this,
you can send me this one too, so I can put it up on the YouTube version.
Yeah, love it. I can send you a couple photos. So this one is basically it's 15. So the wall itself, this is actually I'm just connected to my partner. He knew what he was doing. I was just following. This is actually a 1,500 foot wall in Frisco, but I was 800 feet up here, just chilling, so you can like see the road below. I was 800 feet up. Yeah, dude. Yeah.
Frisco,
Colorado. Yeah. It's like before you get to the main ski areas. And I swear that's a story. Like this dude was
barely even a ledge.
Yeah.
That's insane.
I have a whole bunch of pictures from that day, but that was the most blissful like zone I've ever been in my life.
Look how happy you are.
Dude, stoked.
What year was this?
That was 2021.
2021.
2021, yeah.
This is at 9 p.m.?
No.
Oh,
no.
okay. I was going to say the sun is still very bright
yeah.
for 9:09 p.m.
Yeah, no. This is maybe I took like a screenshot or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, this dude like
who is that? Again?
Another wild journey. I'm a Sagittarius. I'm super adventurous, man. So what would you ask?
Who's the friend?
I met him once. He takes people climbing, and I met him on Facebook. And while we were driving there, it was like an hour or two to get there. I was like, oh yeah, I'm just going to trust this guy knows what he's doing. Met him on Facebook. I see pictures. Like while we're driving there, I just kind of got this like nervous feeling. And I like hop in his van. He's got like this van and like this climbing, all this climbing gear in his van. And he's just like kind of like living out of his van. And for some reason, I just had this like nervous feeling. I was like, okay, what's going on? Should I just like tell him to turn back? Or, and I started to ask him some questions, like get a little more information. And he was like, he ended up telling me that he's had some like deep psychological issues and like partially bipolar. And then he also said like he's had moments of like schizophrenia and like all these different things he was like outlining. And I'm like, fuck. I'm like, holy shit, this guy's gonna take me up 1,500 feet. I'm gonna totally trust him. But the reality of a lot of people that climb like that is that's when they're actually stable. That's when they're actually free. And they're like, oh, I'm free from all these worries of society and these problems I'm having because I'm just free. I'm up at these high altitudes. There's a lot of climbers that's where they're like, oh my God, I'm finally like, okay.
Is it almost like if they have something that they can fully focus on,
exactly,
it doesn't allow them the space to let those other ideas in?
Spot on. That's exactly what it is. It's like he doesn't, because you have to be fully present, then all that stuff about, goes away. So, yeah, that was wild.
That's one of the things I like about cold plunges is there's not a lot of moments in life where you can really focus on one thing without distraction.
Yeah.
But you're so focused on the cold, it's all you think about is just like getting your breath regulated and like skydiving and cold plunges and podcasting, but podcasting not as much, even though I have been pretty focused today, I think, in most episodes. Yeah. But when you're skydiving, and I imagine rock climbing might be like this too, is you gotta be like, you're forced to be in the present and all the other stuff of like, oh, what do I need to get done today? Or who do I need to call? Whatever. Like it doesn't even have room to enter your mind.
Exactly.
It's very nice.
Yeah. And that's part of the reason why people love those things so much. That's what's actually happening is you're not stressed or worrying about the million things that you can't really control in the moment, and you're just present. And that's a huge part of life is like, be present.
Be present.
Be present in the moment, what you're feeling, what you're sensing, what you're seeing, out of emotions or worries or thoughts, and like being present.
Yeah.
Is like, that's where fulfillment is. It's like, it's now. It's now. It's not in the future. It's not in the past. It's in the now. It's like I'm breathing right now. See these cameras around me. Like I've got a body. I'm living in this body. I'm present. I'm present with this person. I'm observing. I'm asking. I'm answering questions. Like it's being present. That's how we get out of stress a lot of the times.
With very comfortable socks on. I saw those earlier.
Super
those
comfy,
look
bro.
So comfy.
Super comfy. These were Christmas gifts.
Yeah.
Yeah, baby. For some reason I got like 6 pairs of them. I don't know why.
Someone give
I
me
had
6
family
pairs
give
of
me
those.
6 pairs.
Thank you gift for coming on the podcast or something.
Yeah.
What brand is that? Do you know?
These are, what is the brand? I don't know. That's a good question.
They're very soft
Yeah,
looking, whatever they are.
They're, they don't have a tag on them, so I don't know.
When you came back from Africa to the U.S., was there any kind of reculture shock?
Culture shock. Yeah. Not necessarily Africa, but that's what happens a lot of, like, because what you're doing. So yes, what happens is you see how other people live. Like when you're really you're like traveling and backpacking and doing all these things, you can go to a beach somewhere, and if that's what you're doing to get away and like escape, all right, but you're not really like getting to know the people there. You're not really getting to experience the cultures and what's going on. So, but if you like really travel and you go to a place for 2 weeks and you really get to know people, you go to a place for a month and you travel around, you backpack around, or however you get around, like you really start to understand how people live because you experience them in person. I mean, I was like, when I was in Nepal, we're like in this tiny little hut and we're like barely like cooking food on this tiny stove in this dark room. And like, there's just all these experiences that you would never have in the US, and it's in this beautiful nature place. And like, there's a, stone fireplace, and these experiences, really open up your mind to how other humans are living. And once you have that, you start to look at yourself differently and go, wait, why has like America always been doing that? Why is school like this? You start questioning, why is it like that? Why do I have to get a job right away instead of like figuring out what I want to do? Why do I have to make a bunch of money and then I'm 40 and I'm like, I'm not happy? Wait a second. You can actually, this is what is going on here? You can really start to question a lot of societal rules and figure out who you want to be. And that's one of the biggest parts of traveling. So when you come back, a lot of the times you start to look at like, wow, yeah, I don't really like that part of the US. Like, oh yeah, forget that. I don't really like that. So you start to see the things you didn't like when you were outside of the US. And even how the people act and how people think, how people talk is so like can be so different. So it just makes you go, wow, yeah, I don't really like that about the US. I don't like how we do that. I don't like how we do this. And so you kind of can get that like, it changes your perspective of your home and where you grew up and seeing the things that you didn't like. But then also you can see the things that you do like. So it just gives you a lens to be like, okay, I've seen different versions of how to live life. What's my best version of how to live it?
If you could spend a year changing one thing and you have a relatively good amount of financial resources to throw at this thing, what thing would you want to change?
Ooh. Is this me personally or just like clients or?
Not your clients.
Okay. I mean,
and I'm asking if it helps you with your answer. I'm asking because you have traveled to different parts of the world, so you've seen different cultures. You have this perspective that someone like myself doesn't have. I did get my passport last year. That is on my bucket list get out of the U.S. for a couple months and see some other places.
Absolutely.
So since you do have that perspective of you've seen how other people live life and operate, is there anything that, whether it's in the U.S., Africa, Europe, a global thing, like what would you change that's happening on our planet right now if you could change something?
What would I change on our planet? I mean, I would change. It's like my mission. Like I would change how we see ourselves and how we see our life. I would change like this fixed way of living life that so many people, this reacting and this fixed way of living life that people get into. They just follow what their parents said. They follow what their friends said. They just live this life that's not really theirs. I would fix that and go, knock, 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 like, wake up. Wake up to your potential. You have unique passions. You have unique skills, unique strengths that need to be actualized. The world needs you to do those. It needs you to be more of who you are. It needs you to wake up to your potential. My job is to wake people up. Like, wake up. Get out of the slumber. Get out of the reaction. Get out of the sadness. Get out of the depression. Like, wake up into your potential, because every single person has the ability to live your greatest life experience, because it's unique to you. And once you realize that, your dream, your vision is possible. It's possible. You becoming an incredible podcaster and having this show, and whatever your goal is with it, how many people you want to reach, or, that's completely possible. And then I always say, like, the next thing is that it's not only possible, because I've seen these crazy goals that nobody was helping me with come true. Like, it's probable. It's actually probable once you just don't give up. You make a decision that you're just not going to give up until you get there. And then eventually you get there. It's just that most people give up before they get to their big goal, their big vision, their greatest life experience. So it's like Will Smith said this when I was like 17, 18. I remember Will Smith saying, it was basically like, it's a decision. Just decide who you want to be, what you want to be. Just decide. And it was like, just hit me. I'm like, damn, you're right. I can just decide who I want to be. Because the reality is, like I said at the beginning, is that you have you have one of two choices. You're going to be existing as a human being. Whenever you die, whatever happens. But as long as you're a human being, you have a decision. Do I want to just float through life, react to life, do okay in life? Or do I want to live my extraordinary life? Do I want to live my best life? Do I want to live the one that's most authentic to me and do the best with that? And once you do that, it's like every day you're living your best life. Every day you love what you're doing. There's challenges, of course. There's downs. There's times where life is tough. But you're living in alignment with who you are instead of living somebody else's life. And that's what we have to wake up to. That's what I would change, because all of us can do it. All of us, every single one of us is not just is meant to do it. Is meant to live your most authentic, best life. And when we do that, we raise the vibration of the entire planet and we change the next generation. Let's fucking go.
All right. Well, that has been a good episode. Everyone have a great Saturday night. That's awesome, man. I love that.
Absolutely. Dude, thanks for having me on the podcast. You do a great job. Very knowledgeable, great research, lots of inspiration. I can tell this has a lot of potential. And thank you so much, David.
Yeah. Before we wrap things up, was there anything else you wanted? We'll talk about your social media handles, where people find you in a second. Before we get to that, and we plug your podcast and a few other things, was there anything else you were hoping we would talk about today that we haven't touched on?
Yeah. I mean, that's really the main thing. Really, like the greatest life experience. Like, if people are wondering how you do that, like how do you actually create that? I have kind of mentioned it in bits, but like the vision is the first thing. Anybody out there that's like, okay, wow, I'm inspired, or yeah, all right, let me try this maybe. The first thing, it's basically 3 steps, is the vision. You've got to create the vision. Who are you in 5 years? The lifestyle you want to live, the person you want to become. I'm telling you, just doing that totally changed everything for me. Like, more money, more community, more fulfillment, like everything got better. Better health, right? So the vision. Number 2, right below that is the aligned goals. So like most people set goals that go to nowhere. I want this Lamborghini. Why? Just because somebody else wanted it? Or is that unique to you? So we want to set goals that are unique, that are going to the peak of our own unique potential, or else we're just living somebody else's life. So aligned goals is number 2. Those are just milestones. You're not going to be happy just because you accomplish something. It's fun. It's great. You'll get the hit. Wow, wonderful. I'm proud of myself, but there's always going to be something next. That's why people aren't fulfilled, right? So it's like, okay, aligned goals are just milestones. That's all they are. right? And then the last part that where the rubber meets the road. Going
Full
back
circle,
to that,
full circle.
Full circle, man. Where the rubber meets the road is the high performance habits. And really, there are 6 high performance habits that all high performers do, whether they're, CEOs or whether they're professional athletes, just anybody living their best life. What I mean by that is successful and fulfilled. They're happy and they're doing well in what they do. They're doing these 6 habits. And this is how you actually make that vision happen. And those habits are seeking clarity. So these aren't like normal like meditation or yoga. Like those are different habits. I'm talking about like more skills or character traits. 1, seeking clarity. You're constantly seeking clarity on what is my vision? What am I doing? And that's even on a day-to-day basis. What are the priorities or the tasks in my business I need to accomplish today? Am I planning out my month, seeking clarity on what I want to accomplish this quarter? I'm seeking clarity on what question to ask in my podcast, or, we're always seeking clarity, constantly seeking clarity, right? 1, 2, like a lot of people don't accomplish things just because they don't have clarity. They're not productive just because they don't have clarity. They're like, what is the isolated target that I'm doing in this next hour that I want to accomplish? They're like, oh, there's these 5 things. Let me try to do one. It's like, you need to have that clarity. 1. 2 is generating energy, right? That's when I go into my clients of like nutrition, sleep, health, but that also means on the mental and emotional side too. And that can even be on the spiritual side, like generating energy. How are you generating energy on a day-to-day basis? Not just maintaining, but generating, that incorporates your mindset. Like what kind of positive thoughts are you bringing back when you're at your low? Like how can you be like, okay, what is my mission though? Like what different things, how is this happening for me, right? Generating energy is both physical, mental, and spiritual, emotional too. And then number 3 is raising necessity, right? Raising necessity by like, hey, again, like wake up, like you've got one life to live. You got to max it out. This thing's going to end. Like raise the necessity, like raise the stakes of your life, raise the stakes of your goals, like find a way to put some healthy pressure on yourself to accomplish them this year. Get an accountability partner, get a coach, like get a community that's also doing the same thing that is a higher level than you. Raise the necessity. Number 4 is demonstrating courage. Sometimes I like mix these up, but 4 is demonstrating courage. So high performers, what they do is they consistently demonstrate courage. Courage is one of the biggest keys. This is like, there's 20 years of research beyond these 6 habits, and these are the 6 habits that all of them do. So courage is, are you consistently taking risks, facing fears? Are you consistently, telling people, if you're a leader of a team, an entrepreneur, if you're a leader of your family, whoever you're leading, are you telling them, hey, these are my roadblocks. Hey, this is where I'm not good. These are my vulnerabilities. Do you have the courage enough? Do you have the strength enough to tell people your vulnerabilities? That's where men need to go. We need to know, hey, actually the vulnerabilities means you're strong. Actually saying, yeah, I'm not good at this means you're actually strong, not weak. Right? So number 4 is demonstrating courage. Because that whole crying thing with men, like wipe that out. Like if you have vulnerabilities, like that means you're strong. It means you're not afraid of them. Anyway, that's another topic. But that's 4 is demonstrating courage, right? 5 is, we all know, increase productivity. Increasing productivity is number 5. How do you increase your productivity consistently? How are you thinking about how you can optimize your business, be more efficient? I'm talking about little stuff too. The things you eat, the things you're thinking. How can you optimize your space, your environment for working habits? How can you optimize that car drive to the gym so it's not so long, or whatever you're doing, optimizing everything so you're more productive, not just in the tasks you're doing, right? But your whole life. Number 6 is developing influence. The biggest one, or one of my favorites, because this one is so connected to other people. And I like to think of it, another word you can use is impact, like positive impact. But how are you having influence as a leader over others in a positive way? You can be influential and destroy people's lives, or you can be influential and really help your team, help everybody grow. And so it's like influential people really, they teach people how to think. They really are leaders, teach people how to think. You think about anybody who's been an influential figure, whether it's Martin Luther King or any president or any figure that has driven real change in the world.
Eric Ferguson.
That's right. Thank you, sir. They teach people how to think. That's step one. You think differently. Then they role model the way. They don't just say it. They do the work. They show up. They do the work. They role model. Hey, I'm doing it. I'm struggling too, but I'm still doing the work. Oh, now I'm doing better because I've worked on it. They role model the way, right? So these are some of the things that people who are influential do so that they, become influential. And another part I really love about influence, what I've loved through the high performance community, is like one of the biggest ways to influence. We think of influence as like power, control, like it can easily go that way. But what's actually more powerful is when you truly, genuinely listen to people. When you truly, genuinely are super present with David, like, wow, like how can I help your mission, man? Like when everybody you show up with, whether they're on your team as an entrepreneur, whether they're just somebody you meet, make their life better. Like listen to them. What do they need? How can you give them that little podcast they need to get that insight? How can you, tell them to like push them to go a little further? How can you provide value by listening, really caring about them? See, people think that caring is like something soft and something. The reality is that people that are super successful entrepreneurs, they deeply care about solving problems. So they're thinking about how that person is suffering. They actually deeply care. Maybe not every single one of them, but a lot of them deeply care about people. We think that people that are super successful are always, nasty, and, that can be a limiting belief for some people, right? Out there that, oh, you're rich, you probably like stole or did something, you probably got handed a bunch of money, something negative, right? But what I've seen time and time again, I've been around a lot of amazing people in my life. And what I've seen time and time again, I was shocked, is like they're so kind. That's a skill. They're kind. They're genuine. They really care. So influence is like, let's flip the script. That also makes the world a better place, right? Just be kind, be compassionate, really care about. Imagine, like I went to the barber right before this, and this guy I've never met before, his name's Jut. Like he clearly grew up in a completely different circumstance than I did. But my first thing is like, hey, Jut, how you doing? Like, what's going on, man? What's going on with your life? Oh, what are your goals? You're getting your hair cut. You're freaking walking down the street. You're on a podcast. You're talking to people. How can you like care for that person? You won't believe how big of an impact that has. So number 6 is influence and really caring about others. So those 6 habits, to kind of package it up here, those 6 habits, when you do them, when you practice them, when you implement them into your life with the goals, with the vision, that's how you make your biggest dreams come true. That's a process that helps. There's other processes. That's the process that's worked for me over and over, works for my clients, like vision, aligned goals, high performance habits. It gives you the best likelihood to get there.
Well, for the audience, I'm definitely going to put a timestamp on that section that you just covered, and I hope that they go back, whether it's in a week, tomorrow, immediately, and listen to it again, and maybe write some of those things down, and maybe you even throw them up like on a sticky note somewhere that you look pretty often, whether that's next to your bed, on your bathroom mirror. Even if you're not a sticky note person, I'm not trying to get you to become a sticky note person, but I would hope that for you guys, if after everything we've covered in this podcast, that you take those 6 things, write them down, maybe even a note on your phone, and you make it the background on your phone for like a week or 2 weeks or something, and really just think about those 6 things and about how you can incorporate those 6 things into your life, and how they can go from being a really cool, energizing 7 minutes on a podcast to something that you incorporate on a daily basis, and then see how your life changes as a result of those things.
I love that. I love that. That's a great point for people out there, your listeners, because it's like, how do you implement it? Take all that great info. Okay, write down what you need to write down. Okay, it's those 6 things. Now it's, okay, how do I implement this in my life? Start small. How can you just implement increasing productivity? How can you create time blocks for 2 hours on the most important task in the start small? Just start small, and like you can listen to this and you can be like, oh, great, that's awesome. But if you don't take action, you won't see results. So implement this immediately, like tomorrow, like tonight, whenever you are in time, implement it right now.
I have a really easy one for the audience. The next time you go somewhere where the employee, whether it's at a grocery store, a gym, wherever, and they're wearing a name tag, I would dare you guys, I would double dog dare you that as you're having your little interaction with them, whether it's scanning your card to get into the gym or they're checking you out at the grocery store line, use their name and say, Eric, how's your day going? And just see where the conversation goes. It 100%. Might be a little bit scary, especially if you've never done that. But when you use someone's name in an environment where they're used to being treated like shit, it will make their day.
100%.
So it might be a little scary, but I almost guarantee you the little reward you get from it when you see them light up, it's a really easy barrier to entry.
Dude, that's powerful. That's powerful. Those little things, like give somebody a little nugget. You would be shocked on how that changes people's lives. How are you? Name, like somebody that is at cashier. Like, we are all connected. We're all connected, whether we think about that on a daily basis or not. Like, we are all connected. And the cool part is when you give that kindness, that one little nugget to that person, when you show up and be that kind version of yourself to just try to help somebody, one of the coolest parts is that you feel amazing about yourself.
Yeah.
You're like, I'm a leader. Yeah. Oh, I'm freaking amazing. And that's the reciprocal action that happens. As you give, you get. As you give joy to somebody, you get joy. Wow. So like, it's a win-win.
It's almost like selfless selfishness, because you get so much in return from it.
Right.
By giving.
Yeah.
And then you see your own quality of life going up. It's a very weird circle.
100%.
It's a very awesome circle. Not weird. It's awesome.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's empowering yourself by empowering other people.
Yeah. Eric, as we wrap this thing up, I don't want to forget to say it. Thank you for being here today. This was awesome. Yeah. I can't wait to keep interacting with you, whether it's at internet marketing parties, whether we grab a coffee, a workout. I would love to stay in touch with you.
Let's do it.
When we can. I know we're both busy guys, but let's stay on each other's radars in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, man.
In the meantime, I want to ask you a few quick questions. Who do you want to work with? As you're a coach, who should contact you if they think they might want to hire a coach and they're thinking you might be the guy?
100%. Thank you. Appreciate that. It's like, people that it doesn't really matter necessarily the age range, could be between 20 and 40. I've worked with different individuals, but it's entrepreneurs that, feel stuck. A lot of the times there'll be people that are transitioning through life in a transition chapter, or they're trying to grow their business to the next level. So it's people that are feeling, burned out, overwhelmed with what they're doing, or they have a lack of fulfillment. And entrepreneurs, those are the problems that I really help solve, especially the lack of fulfillment. So I work with entrepreneurs. There is some, especially like mission-driven entrepreneurs, but there is some times where I get people that I'll talk at a party and they'll be like, I'm not an entrepreneur, but like, I really want to create my full potential life. I'm like, all right, let's go. And that's literally what's happened here in Austin. So, but yeah, the 3 problems, burnout, feel like you're burned out, like you have more, there's more for your life, but you're burned out, you're an entrepreneur, you want to grow your business, and you want to live your greatest life experience. You're overwhelmed by everything that's happening and you just want to scale, you want to grow, or you just have a lack of fulfillment for some reason in your life. Like, why am I having a lack of fulfillment? I may even be successful, but I'm not happy. Help me with this. Entrepreneurs out there.
And then I'll put this in the show notes, so if you guys don't catch it, just scroll down a little bit and there'll be a link. What's the best way to contact you? Is it Instagram, LinkedIn, email? How do you want people to approach you?
Yeah. I would LinkedIn, really LinkedIn, Eric Ferguson, CHPC. You can find me there. That just means Certified High Performance Coach. My website, full-potential-living.com. FPL, full-potential-living.com. Instagram, full_potential_living. Instagram, full_potential_living. Those are the three main places. If you go to my website, there are free resources that you can get right now to become a high performer. There are 3 free resources that they're type forms for different like persuasion, for psychology mastery. If you want to master some of these things we've talked about in your mind, you can go to my website. They're on there. And there's a couple different free resources right away. And if you contact me there, you just shoot me an email, or you book a consultation, I will send you free resources. If you book a consultation, it's a complete free session. What I always do is I help people first. So anybody that's curious about coaching, I do a completely free session where I see if it's a good fit for both of us, first of all, and I help you solve some of your most relevant problems. Even sometimes I do like a connection and then a longer session, and there's zero obligation to do my coaching. I want people that are all in on their best life. Anybody out there that's like, dude, help me. I just need that accountability. I need this problem solved. If you're all in on that, then book a call. No obligation to sign up, really. I'm not just like throwing some sales on the back end. Like what I do is like genuinely help people. And then once they're like, wow, this is awesome, I'll be like, okay, how do we work together?
Yeah.
It's a genuine sales process. So you can get something that you need and jump out, or you can get something you need and continue with the coaching.
And then another resource for the audience is you also have your podcast, Full Potential Living, which I know is on Spotify and YouTube because that's where I listen. Is it on Apple Podcasts and most other streaming platforms as well?
Yeah, definitely Spotify and Apple is where the most listeners have been. I'm looking to grow that YouTube channel more consistently now. But yeah, they can find it on Spotify, Apple, and YouTube.
Eric Ferguson, thank you so much for being here, brother. This was awesome, dude.
Yeah.
It's funny because you, one comment, and maybe you didn't mean this literally, you may have just said it as you were talking, but when you were talking about teaching in Botswana, you had said, I've never been a teacher before. And I thought, the thought that went through my head as you said that was, well, you've been teaching people since you were in high school, and you were connecting people between different teams, different cultures. And just because you haven't had that title, or maybe you weren't standing in front of a group of students in like some sort of classroom setting, I think that people have probably been looking up to you in the way that you've been living your life a lot longer than you've given yourself credit for. So as you keep going, just know that, you're changing people's lives for the better, and you're doing a real good thing. I'm proud of you. I'm honored to be in your circle, and keep doing your thing, brother.
Oh, my brother. I appreciate it. Much love, man. Much love. Yeah, you're doing amazing things yourself. And I can tell this is a big passion for you. I can tell there's serious potential here. And you're on your way. And keep going. Thank you so much. I would love to connect with anybody out there. But yeah, definitely stay connected with you as well, man.
All right, guys, this has been Eric Ferguson. If you like today's episode, I have a huge favor to ask you guys. Up until this point, about 15 to 20% of the audience, I haven't looked at the numbers in a while, but probably under 20% of the audience has given the show a 5-star rating on Spotify, a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts, and a subscription on YouTube. And the reason I'm asking you guys to do this is because my promise to you, if you do one or even all 3 of these things, that is going to take 3 minutes of your time. It's going to cost you absolutely no money. My promise to you is to keep finding guests like Eric so that we can bring value to your guys' lives completely free, so that, like I said earlier when Eric asked me what my mission was, we can provide you every week with 90 minutes to maybe 3 hours of just resources and stories to help you light that internal fire within yourself. And I want that fire to spread as much as possible. To this day, we've already made it to over 500 cities, to over 50 plus countries, but in the United States alone, there's somewhere north of 19,000 cities. So we've barely touched the tip of the iceberg, and I want to get to more listeners so that we can, as Eric said, vibrate these messages to as many people as possible and change, literally change like our mindset on planet Earth and just live better quality lives than we're living right now, so we can get away from feeling lonely, depressed, anxious, and really start to live our full human potential. So go do those things for me as you round up this episode. And in the meantime, I hope you guys have a healthy and happy Saturday night, and we'll see you next week. Bye, everyone.